trying to stop you from doing it.
They were sabotaging me.
Willie, we'll get into that in just a minute. Again, our toll-free number tonight, 866-910-WPFB. We're going to talk about the 2001 Listener Awards in just a minute. First, let's take a phone call. Let's go to the line, and welcome to the Wrestling Guy.
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing, Shawn?
It's Daryl McGee. Welcome, Daryl. How you doing, man?
I'm fine. I've got a couple of questions. First, I guess the first obvious question is, what's the status of Scott Hall now that I guess that Nash is basically in the World Wrestling Federation? And also, they're still playing a split, in the two separate companies.
Willie, which one do you want to take?
I didn't hear the second one. I heard the first one about Scott Hall.
Okay, well then, do you want to take the Scott Hall one?
I'll take the Scott Hall one.
Go for Scott Hall.
I think that Scott Hall's chances in getting into the WWF are heightened now that, if Nash is signed with the WWF. They don't want Scott Hall if they don't have Kevin Nash, just because the problems are so there. I know we had a lot of comments on this over the weekend on the hotline. I think that you will see that because I think the Outsiders as a team is a bigger draw than just Kevin Nash. However, I think that you have to have both of them there to make it effective. Otherwise, I mean, who cares? I don't think anyone even would care about Kevin Nash without Scott Hall there.
The only thing I think that could get people interested if you don't bring in Scott Hall is if Shawn Michaels is willing to come back.
Right.
If you pair up Michaels and Nash, then I think that not having Hall around isn't as big a deal.
I agree with you, but I think Nash needs to be with somebody.
Well, the second question was that the much-anticipated split in the World Wrestling Federation, we'd heard that it was going to take place this Monday. Now, the latest talk is that apparently they're going to wait till after the Royal Rumble to split the World Wrestling Federation basically into two leagues. Again, much like baseball has the National League and American League, the WWF will have two leagues under the WWF name. And apparently Vince McMahon will operate one league and have control of Monday Night Raw. Ric Flair will operate the second league and control SmackDown. I don't know if they're still in a position where they can concentrate on two leagues. I think there's problems with the first one they've got to fix.
Yeah, I think that you need to fix all the problems that you have with the WWF first. I mean, now, granted, we're talking like this is going to be two separate promotions. It's the same promotion. I mean, it's run by the same guy. It's the same guy is going to be calling all the shots, and that's being Vince McMahon, whether it be two promotions or not. But I don't think that you want to split your talent roster to that extreme right now, due to the fact that basically wrestling's still in a waning position. And if you're going to bring in some guy like Kevin Nash, then too, or if you're still going to try to create some interest, I think that you need to do it under one banner right now, get the people back, and then maybe at that point split.
Well, you look at the names in the WWF that were out for the majority of the year. Triple H being out certainly hurt a lot. Chris Benoit, who was probably at the biggest height he'd ever been in his career, went down with the injuries. You've also had Rikishi that missed a lot of 2001. Rhino missed a good portion of the final few months. You've got the anticipation that Scott Steiner at any point could be in the WWF. Kevin Nash looks like he's going to be brought in despite what his official statement says. So, why not concentrate everything in one right now? And like you said, maybe after WrestleMania, maybe, even wait till SummerSlam, but make sure you have your original house in order, then split it into two, because there's also a lot of talk that The Rock's not going to be around for much of 2002.
No, he's got to go back actually and film a lot more of the Scorpion King. I guess that film is in some major trouble right now.
Well, not only that, but he's also being talked about for a number of other movie roles too. I think he's already signed on for 2 films that are going to start production this year. So, you're not going to have The Rock for the majority of the year, and he's supposed to be one of your main guys in one of these other, 2 leagues. I don't understand why you would do that.
I don't know either, because
again, Vince is a billionaire and I'm not, so why am I questioning him?
But I think, and SmackDown has been getting actually higher ratings. More people have been watching SmackDown than watching Raw.
Which is surprising, given the fact that SmackDown's a taped show.
I agree with you too, but I think more people are able to get a UPN network than say are able to get CNN.
Good points, Willie. F joining me here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Our toll-free number again, 866-910 WPFB. Willie, for the last couple of weeks, we have been tabulating the votes for Wrestler of the Year, and I'm going to share a few of these with you. Some of the other awards people came up with.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's see. David Ashburn wrote in. He thinks the funniest moment of the year was Vince McMahon's face getting stuck into Rikishi's buttocks.
Okay.
He has a different sense of humor.
I hated that whole thing. I'm glad that died.
story of the year, WWF 5 WCW. I don't think there's any question to that as far as...
Definitely.
Brian Pointer, the biggest jerk of the year, Rikishi, for his behavior in the HWA.
I can't do any comment on that one.
You can't comment on that one. Bring back the old gimmick award goes to the Undertaker. I don't know if that... Undertaker...
No, I think that's the get the guy out of there award. I say you bring back, and I read this and I agreed with it. Bring back Mankind for one match, have him do one final coffin match, and let it go. Let him retire at that point.
Brian also agrees with you. Worst angle of the year, the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club.
Yes, I agree.
We heard from Tom Burns. Tom believes that the best legs in the WWF belong to Stacy Keibler.
Well, yeah, who else are you going to give it to? You're not going to give those to Rikishi.
Best New Saying Award, Austin Watts.
I hate that, too.
And the thing is, that has, not just in the WWF, that has went down to every level of professional wrestling.
Yes, and it's very annoying, trust me.
Worst storyline of the year, according to Minor 2006, was Chyna's neck injury.
That was the what again?
That was the worst storyline of the year.
Yeah.
And it's hard to think back. Everything in 2001, you can go all the way back to the beginning to think. It's been so long since we saw Chyna in the WWF. It's hard to remember she was there.
Yeah, you know what? I think the worst storyline is, my personal favorite for the worst storyline is the Tiger Alley Singh, D'Lo Brown, Low Down, Chaz debacle that they had, that, they weren't allowed to wrestle or anything else. I think that was the worst storyline, because there you had D'Lo Brown, you had Chaz. Both guys are, Tiger Alley Singh I could take or leave. But those two guys are both talented, and they had absolutely nothing for them to do. And then they just dropped the ball in the storyline. It went absolutely nowhere.
This one's nice. Brad Lee from WrestlingExpress.com. Best new website, WrestlingExpress.com. Website of the year, WrestlingExpress.com. You got the plugs in. You got to be creative with that.
Well, yeah.
Sure.
They could do that. A lot of other people could learn a lot from that.
Big, Sexy Greg Gray. You like that name?
Yeah, that's nice.
Very nice name. Couple of awards that he brought up. Bus Ride of the Year, the Wrestling Guys Tillman Bus Trip. So, he's kissing our butt a little bit. So
sure, well, that's all right.
That's always good. The Bite His Butt Shark Boy Award goes to Shark Boy.
Gee, I wonder how he won that.
And this one's good. The Willie F. Brock Gussman I Don't Know Who I Am Award, Hurricane Helms, and the Mild Mannered Reporter.
Oh, see that? I like that award.
So you had an award named after you.
That's all right.
And again, we want to thank everybody, and certainly that's not everybody we have, but certainly that's some of the more interesting ones. Let's go ahead and run down the Wrestlers of the Year, all the awards that we had people vote on.
Okay.
And you have your own selections, right?
Yeah, I have my own selection.
Let's do our selections. How do you want to do it? Our selections, or do you want to do the listener selections?
I say let's go with each of our selections as we go by, and then we'll hit the listeners.
Sounds good.
I don't want to be heavily influenced by the listeners when I vote.
We will start with the local Wrestler of the Year, and you want to do ours first?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with yours first.
Local Wrestler of the Year. That one's tough. Because I know that I was going to be, biased and accordingly so on that. But I would say local Wrestler of the Year, I would have to go with either Matt Stryker or Pepper Parks. And the reason being, both those guys, every time that those guys got in the ring and had a match with each other, that was probably the most enjoyable time that I've had, like out front in front of an audience. And being able to walk around the ring with those two guys in the ring was an honor and a pleasure.
I'm also going to take somebody from the HWA and a guy who both of those two have fought frequently lately, and that's Jamie Noble.
Yeah, that's too. Yeah, you're right.
And the one reason about Jamie Noble is I think there's a guy who basically was so misused in WCW, and when he was first brought in the HWA and people said Jamie Noble joined the company, they're like, who? And I think he has done so much with his personality, and I think that is one of the guys from the HWA that over the next 12 months, I know he's being looked at right now.
Yeah, he definitely is. The whole redneck Messiah gimmick is definitely getting a lot of notice right now.
Now, as far as what the listeners said, now some of the other votes went to Suicide Solution, I think another one of your former teams.
Right. Yep.
Big Jim Hutchinson from OCW got some votes. Easy Money from the HWA. Steve Bradley got some votes. Your top 3, as voted on by you, the fans. Number 3, Alan Funk, the Funkster.
Yeah, and that is probably the biggest crime of the year, was Alan Funk being released by the WWF. Not a nicer guy in the world. I mean, when I first met him, I thought, wow, this guy is kind of a jerk. But then after, just after 2 weeks later, he takes a while to warm up to, but after that, one of the nicest guys, that I've met within pro wrestling.
Coming in second place, ending his 2-year reign as local wrestler of the year, the future Logan King.
Well, Logan's been out for a lot of the year. I mean, he hasn't really. I know he's been still working with WCW. He's been doing a lot of stuff outside of the state, so he hasn't really been all that much locally. But I know that he's still been training, still been doing a lot of shows. We just haven't seen him locally.
Well, I know he's wrestled for WCW last month. I know he wrestled a little bit for the HWA this past year. Still has a great fan base. And I think that if he, depending on what he wants to do with his personal life, and I know he just got married, so obviously that takes away a little bit. But if he truly dedicates himself the way he has in the past, then there's no reason that a year from now he couldn't win this award again.
I agree with you.
And the winner of the year, or we should say winners, the Island Boys.
Yeah, the Island Boys are probably one of the most impressive tag teams I've seen in quite some time. To have guys of that size and be able to move the way that they do is phenomenal, and those guys definitely deserve that award.
And the other thing, too, and you and I get to see it sometimes from a different perspective, because sometimes we're around the training sessions and whatnot, is you have not seen yet what these guys can really do.
No, you have not.
And I've told this story before, and people think I'm nuts, but ECMO, who's the smaller of the two, can perform a lion salt just as well as Jericho.
Yes, he can.
I've seen him do top rope hurricanranas. I mean, the guy, for his size to be as mobile as he is, he's what, 370?
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. And I think that sometime between now and WrestleMania, maybe right after WrestleMania, I think they're going to be a part of the World Wrestling Federation.
I would definitely have to concur with that. These guys are definitely going to make it, and they're going to make it very soon.
Real quick, let's do Tag Team of the Year before we get to the news. My pick, and it's really, I almost didn't pick anybody. I thought the tag team situation on the national level was very, very poor. Simply by default, they won it last year. I'll go with the Hardy Boys.
I'm still going to go with the Dudleys, and even though the Dudleys have become kind of stagnant within the last part of the year, I think early part of the year, I just think that they were the best amongst the tag teams.
And as far as the listeners, number 3. And talent-wise, if these two tagged on a consistent basis, there would be no stopping them. Y2J, Chris Jericho, and Chris Benoit.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Number 2, the Dudley Boys, and the top team as voted on by the fans, the Hardy Boys. So,
and they're going to split here real soon. So obviously, maybe they won't even be around next year.
Who knows? Tell you what, we are going to break for news. When we come back, Willie and I will discuss the match of the year, the wrestler of the year, and then Willie F's final thoughts. How about that?
Hey!
We'll break for news. This is the Wrestling Guys. I'll let you go out for one final time.
Okay, on AM 910 WPFB.
Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys. I'm Shawn Stidham, joined one last time on a regular basis by Willie F. And you're going to come back now and again.
Yeah, I'll come back every now and again.
Yeah, I mean, it's not permanent.
No.
It's just as far as a regular basis.
On a regular basis, I didn't feel that it was I didn't feel comfortable by saying that I was still a part of the show, where I really haven't been a part of the show for a while. And it's just because, my obligations with HWA have just picked up. And
you guys have run a number of shows on Wednesdays, plus, we've talked about it before, and there's no need to rehash it, but, there is a number of things personally with your full-time job and everything else you've got going on in your life. So, again, I want to thank you for the last 2.5 years. And I know that, this isn't like farewell.
No, not at all.
And there's no heat between me and you.
No, absolutely not.
That's the first thing people want to know. Well, what'd you guys get in an argument about? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
No argument whatsoever. I mean, it was one of those things that, I stayed around, this is something that I've been talking about for what, maybe 4 months?
Yeah, something like that.
And I agreed that I would go to the very end of the year with it. It just, people have to understand that there's a lot more to that, and I can get into some of it. But I mean, now being down with HWA, and there's been a couple times where I was actually in the studio, and most recently probably with the talent cut.
Right.
And I actually said I couldn't do the show. I mean, upon hearing the talent cut, because I didn't feel that was right for me to come on and talk about it. There's a lot of things that you don't want to make. You don't want to talk about it. When Ron Toss passed away, I was supposed to do the hotline that next day, and I couldn't do it because I couldn't talk about it. And I guess it's because being so close now, involved in the business. I mean, HWA, there's only two places in the world that the WWF looks at you. One's HWA and the other one's OVW down in Louisville. And that's it. And to have to come on and maybe talk about some of the aspects of that, it's just kind of hard to do because you're just so close to it. And sharing the locker room with a lot of those guys that were there and then were released, and then having to come on and talk about it, I just couldn't do it.
No, and I think that anybody in the same situation would be able to understand that. I mean, you don't see a lot of Major League Baseball players while they're active, come on and talk about fights that happen in the locker room or the guy that's really going through a slump. It just doesn't happen. And I think anybody would understand that, and I certainly understand that and respect that. But again, last couple of years have been tremendously fun on my part, and I know that, you and I are still going to touch base almost every day. So,
absolutely, yeah.
The friendship's still there, and that's the most important thing. Before we get into your final thoughts, let's wrap up the 2001 Listener Awards. Let's now talk about the match of the year. A lot of candidates. I would probably have to go all the way back to the beginning of the year. 2 out of 3 falls, Triple H and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I would definitely agree with that one 100%.
The psychology in the match and everything, the intensity of the match. Huh?
What was that word?
The psychology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Don't hear that a lot around here.
But that was, I just thought that was the match of the year.
I agree with you 100%. A very exciting match to watch, and I could actually sit down and watch that over and over again.
As far as what you, the listeners, voted as far as the match of the year, there's some of the others that received awards. Austin and Y2J from last month's Vengeance, which is kind of surprising me a little bit. Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy, their ladder match, very good.
Yeah, that was a good match.
A match that got a couple of awards, and I was kind of surprised, but I was happy to see it.
Brady Bowl match?
No. The SmackDown match between, I think it was SmackDown, Kurt Angle and Kane from a couple of months back. Just the psychology of the match.
Yeah, that was actually SmackDown from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That was actually a great match.
Now, as far as what the fans said, as far as your top 3, our selection came in number 3. Austin Triple H was 3rd. Second on the list, Shane McMahon and Kurt Angle, King of the Ring, Falls Count Anywhere.
Yeah, that was a good match. What was the crazy bump that he took in that one?
Well, that was the going through the glass, and it took 3 attempts before the glass had shattered.
Right.
And match of the year, WrestleMania 17, TLC 2.
I didn't think it was nearly as good as TLC 1.
Not as good as TLC 1, but certainly you got to give those guys props for risking their necks the way they did. And in front of that arena, 68,000 people, and to perform in that environment, all the kudos in the world. And last year TLC 1 was match of the year. This year TLC 2. So I guess next year TLC 3, because it's happening. Or by TLC 10, I guess, is what we'll be up to by then.
Exactly, or until someone gets seriously injured.
All right, let's get down. Wrestler of the year, your vote.
Even though he was out most of the year, I just think that he still deserves the award is Triple H.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason I say that is because I don't think that anyone is looking forward to... I don't think that when Austin came back, I don't think that there's been the hoopla of Austin returning or anyone else besides, they're making such a big deal about him returning. And I think that he has been missed so much just because of what he brings to the table. I mean, he brings solid wrestling, solid mic skills, excitement, builds up a match. And I just personally say that, he is still going to be the Wrestler of the Year for me.
I think Wrestler of the Year for me has to go to Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I think that there was certainly a period there in the middle with the heel turn that he wasn't at his peak. But I think that going into WrestleMania and the way that he has performed in the latter part of 2001 has been remarkable. And also, even when he was, as the heel, he went out there every night and absolutely busted his tail. And to come back from that neck surgery and to be the megastar that he is, and yet you never hear anything about Austin complaining about working house shows. You never hear anything about him having to go do a job to this guy or that guy. He has simply, I think, performed at a level that is remarkable, and you don't see a lot of guys at his level perform the way he does, as effortlessly as he does. And I just think, for me, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the Wrestler of the Year.
He was a close runner-up for me because, I mean, how do you say that a guy that has already been on top of the business has improved over when he was on top of the business? And I think Austin has. I mean, there was a lot of question marks in my mind when he came back. Is this guy going to be able to perform? And the first couple weeks were really kind of shaky. And then after that, when they start pitting him with guys like Benoit and pitting him with guys like Regal, and those guys would have just outstanding matches. And then going on from there and actually having outstanding matches on his own.
Right.
Was definitely, he's a close runner-up, but I still go with Triple H just because I think that him being out was definitely a cause for a lot of the drop in the ratings, and I think that I'm very excited about seeing him return. Also, any guy that would finish the match the way that he did after he got the damage to his leg, that's a show of a true performer, and that's why also he got my Wrestler of the Year.
As far as what the listeners voted, number 3, Rob Van Dam. He's always going to be up there when it comes to listener awards. Number 2, Chris Jericho. A little surprising, I thought, but still, given the fact that he's finally performing at the main event level that's always been anticipated of him, I can see why he would be a candidate. Number 1, the Wrestler of the Year. The 2001 Wrestling Guys Wrestler of the Year, as voted on by you, the fans. Not Triple H, not Stone Cold Steve Austin, Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, but
I can hear Joe. It's true.
It's Kurt Angle is a very consistent wrestler. You cannot really fault a lot of the matches that he's had. I think that personally, I think that he's slipped a little bit as far as when he was playing the stupid Kurt Angle for about the 5th time. He's plays a badass sometimes, and then sometimes he just plays the stupid Kurt Angle, and I think they need to find a proper mold for him and just let him run with that for a while.
Obviously, Kurt Angle was important to a lot of people after September 11th.
Absolutely.
They used Kurt Angle, I think, as a way, he was an embodiment of the American spirit, and I think that meant a lot to a lot of people at that time. And Kurt Angle, I think, has been very consistent over the last year. And I can't say I disagree with it. Kurt Angle is a good choice for Wrestler of the Year, and he's our 2001. Been wanting to say, so for the forum is yours. Go for it.
Well, basically, first of all, let me start off by thanking Shawn for 2.5 wonderful years with the Wrestling Guys. I have been very privileged as far as in this business. I want to thank everyone that I've ever come in contact with as far as along the road. Of course, everyone, a lot of people know, Big Daddy Raj Cox. I will be ever indebted to him for giving me a stage to perform on when I first decided to get into the wrestling business. And of course, I do have to thank, most of all, I think Les Thatcher, who gave me definitely a stage to perform on, and has been nothing but very supportive. I consider him not only a trainer, not only someone who I've learned more about the wrestling business than anyone I've ever come in contact with, but I also consider him to be a dear friend. And I would also, I will live and die by HWA. I will never be going anywhere else other than HWA, with the exception of, if I ever do get a contract. If they ever bring managers back into the Forte,
You get some breast enhancements. I think you got a chance now.
Yeah, that's what I've been told, too. So it's like, you get 36 Ds and a nice push, and you're in there, pal.
Or get the last name McMahon in your set.
Yeah, I might do that.
All right, I'll quit interrupting. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. You're fine. That helps me move along, actually. But one thing I would like to say is, like, I respect absolutely everybody that has a dream and goes out and pursues the dream. I respect absolutely anyone that undertakes putting on a show and goes out and does it, because it is a hard thing to do. What I don't respect, though, and what I have problems with, is those individuals that don't want to pursue trying to get better. And if I will personally say, what, like I said, I have the utmost respect to anyone who goes out and gets in the ring and performs. However, I look back at Triple H's comments that he said on Tough Enough, and basically, if you don't take this business seriously, then you are basically, you're pissing on the grave of everyone that came before you. And I really do feel that way in a lot of aspects. I would personally say, to those guys, if you're just considered yourself a weekend warrior, that's all you do. You go out maybe, once, twice a month, get in the ring, perform, and you think that, you are a part of the wrestling business. I have problems with that, because you're not. There's a lot of talent that's in this area, but there's also a lot of wasted talent. And it's because the guys don't get out into the gym, they don't get out and train, and they don't find training under a proper authority. There's a lot of guys here that, and I'm not just saying that within, HWA. I consider that maybe two promotions in the area that I would consider to be legitimate, and everything else I don't consider to be legitimate. And the other thing that I would say too is to all those guys within the promotion, don't worry what every other promotion is doing. Let it go. If you focus the energy that you put upon other people, or that you express as far as putting somebody else's promotion down, or trying to derail that promotion, or saying things about that promotion, all you're doing is you're wasting energy that you should be spending on creating storylines, on creating promotions, and really working to make your promotion that successful. And Shawn, I know that you've taken a lot of heat as far as, well, all we hear about is that the, HWA this, HWA that. Well, you know what? You're not the only one that's talking about HWA. I know that on almost every single website, wrestling website that you can go to right now, there's an article about HWA. There's a news bit about HWA. That's just the way that it is. I mean, Les Thatcher has taken it upon himself, and the due credit for HWA getting that WWF contract needs to go with Les Thatcher. He's got 41 years in the business, and he'll tell you that himself, if you ask him.
That's in the standard greeting, isn't it?
Standard greeting.
Hi, my name is Les Thatcher. I've been in the business 41 years. It just flows right out.
He's busted his ass and made it a point where, I've learned, like I said, so much about psychology, and I'm just at the very tip of the iceberg. I would never, and I mean never, ever consider myself to be a wrestler, to be a worker. I'm a manager. I would never consider myself to be able to get in there and do the things that a lot of those guys do. And the reason I don't is because, one, I don't have time to actually really involve myself within the wrestling side of the business. In other words, I can't go down and train like all the time that these guys train. I have the utmost respect for these guys. I would never even put myself in the same league as a lot of these guys that I see on every single week, and sometimes 3 or 4 times a week. And it's because of that, because I know that I cannot do that I choose not to do that. And I think that some people need to step back and go, wow, am I really doing this business a world of good by saying that I'm a part of it? I mean, in other words, know your limitations. Know what exactly that you can do. Know what part of the business that you are in. If you ever think that you are bigger than the wrestling business itself, then trust me, you are definitely within the wrong business. That's about all I got.
Okay.
I mean, one more thing. I mean, you took a lot of criticism for being HWA. You're involved in HWA. Now, it's no big secret you have done things with HWA. Mm-hmm. If anyone deserves to get criticism about being part of HWA, it's me, because I am. and, you know, I will consistently fight to the death for HWA.
Well, the one thing I've said, and I've said it on numerous occasions, is that, you know, when you simply look at the number of shows the HWA runs as opposed to everybody else, they run more shows in 2 weeks than a lot of promotions will run in a year. And they give you more information to talk about. Now, I will, you know, and you and I have talked about this before, I will respectfully disagree with you on a couple of matters. First of all, I don't have a problem with a promotion that only runs 1 or 2 shows a month, as long as they understand their place. Not that they, you know, deserve to be looked down upon or anything like that.
No, I agree with that.
But, you know, right now, the HWA is another league above, I think, everybody else. Combined with OVW and HWA are the next step under the WWF, and then you have everybody else in the country.
Right.
And so, you know, for that reason, you know, I don't have a problem, because certainly you came out of a promotion that ran 1 or 2 shows a month at that.
Absolutely.
And there's going to be a lot of people that come to HWA and OVW through those promotions, but I think that the responsibility lies not mainly with the promoters, but more with the wrestlers. If you have a promoter that's only giving you 1 or 2 shows a month, then you can still work for that promoter, but there are other promoters around the country. If you're going to work for, you know, if you're going to work for OCW on this weekend, and they don't have another show for another month, then the next weekend, check to see what's going on with the NWA, you know, West Virginia, Ohio. Check to see what's going on with the IWA. Look out the East Coast and ECWA or something along those lines. Get your tapes out there and take it upon yourself to try and bust your butt a little bit. There's a number of guys who are not in the HWA. Guys like a guy we're going to talk to in a little bit, Chris Hero,
yeah.
Logan Kane. There's been a number of people that have done this and who are going to be very successful. You know, I don't think that just because you're an HWA, you know, if you don't get the HWA means you can't be successful in this business, but certainly I don't think it's fair to discredit what the HWA has accomplished over the last, you know, 5 years through their hard work and perseverance, and certainly, like you said, through what Les Thatcher has done.
Well, my thing is, like, you know, quit worrying about what the HWA is doing, because what we're doing is we're going to, you know, we're going to keep doing as strong as we possibly can. I think 2002 is going to be an even stronger year for HWA. And worry about doing stuff yourself. I'll tell you what, HWA, I mean, I can tell you, Les doesn't care about what any other promotion is doing.
Willie, I've got to get to a commercial break. Again, thank you for the 2.5 years, and I know we'll be back in, I think maybe even next week.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see if I'm free.
You want to close it out one more time?
Sure. How do you want me to close it?
I'll set you up.
All right, thanks.
We'll be back in a couple minutes. This is the Wrestling Guys.
On AM 910, WPFB.
It starts with your...
It's on the station that's part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys, my name is Shawn Stidham. Again, want to thank Willie F. And don't forget the Wrestling Guys hotline, available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 937-285-0991 is our phone number for the latest wrestling news, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Next week, the Wrestling Guys will be broadcasting live from the Montgomery County Fairgrounds Coliseum at the HWA. We'll be having a show once again up there. For details, go to hwaonline.com. A couple of shows coming up this weekend. On Saturday, John Bryan Community Center, Outlaw Championship Wrestling has their big show, the first one of the year. And you can get details at outlawchampionshipwrestling.com. And a big show happening on Friday. And joining me, one of our longtime friends here at the Wrestling Guys, Chris Hero. How you doing, man?
Not too bad, Shawn. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. And big show for you and your group, the IWA Mid-South, coming into Dayton. That first time?
This is our first time here in Dayton.
First time in Dayton. It's going to be Friday night at the Burkhardt Center.
Friday night.
It's your forum, man. Come on, plug it.
All right. This Friday night is called the Dayton Dawning. IWA Mid-South Hardcore Wrestling debuts in the little city of Dayton, Ohio.
Little city?
Little city.
Okay, you run Charleston, and you're calling Dayton Little.
Hey, Charleston's great.
I'm not saying Charleston's not great. Come on.
All right, we got all kinds of stuff going on. IWA presents they have a real complete show. They have all kinds of stuff. IWA has this reputation. When you think of IWA, you think of like Ian Rotten and all the death matches. But if you look a little bit closer, you'll notice that IWA has one of the greatest and most deepest rosters in independent wrestling. They've assembled all kinds of talent all over the Midwest, some guys from the East, some guys from down South, and each and every time they put on a wonderful show.
You're biased a little bit, but go ahead.
Say what?
You're a little biased, but that's okay.
Of course.
Because you're in the main event, so of course you think it's a wonderful show.
Actually, I'm not in the main event.
No. IWA has a very good product. They have a very devoted fan base, and I know a lot of people are excited about them coming into the area for the first time.
Yeah, personally, I think IWA is one of the best kept secrets around in independent wrestling because most people are turned off by hardcore wrestling, so they don't look a little bit further. But this Friday, we got Road Dogg coming in, and he's taking on the IWA Heavyweight Champion, CM Punk. CM Punk wrestles all over the Midwest. He holds about 3 different promotions titles right now. Mid-American out of Wisconsin. He's the Steel Domain Champion out of St. Paul. And he's got a pretty interesting gimmick. He's straight edge. He has a Pepsi tattoo on his arm. He's got the Cobra logo tattooed on him.
Did he sell like the ad space or what?
I think so. No, I think he just likes Pepsi, but he's straight edge and he thinks he's better than everybody because he doesn't drink or smoke. But he's wrestling Road Dogg. I have the pleasure of wrestling Chris Candido.
Chris Candido, now I assume Candy's coming along with him?
Yes, he will be. I actually have a valet too. Her name's Nadia Knight, and she's rather green. She's new to IWA, but she's still in training, so she'll do a pretty good job.
So Nadia Knight in your corner taking on No Gimmick Media Chris Candido along with Tammy Lindstedt.
That's correct.
And you've also got the Road Dogg on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be Friday night, Burkhart Center.
That's correct.
And give us the details as far as where somebody can find information.
Actually, IWA has a hotline set up in Dayton. The number is 937-586-9222. IWA has a website at www.iwamidsouthwrestling.com. You can find information on those if you leave a message on the hotline. They'll put up a post or something.
All right, sounds good, Chris. And you're going to go back overseas. I know you toured Japan before, but you've got another one coming up end of this month?
Yeah, the 29th, I leave for Germany. I have 4 shows. I have one in Nuremberg, Germany, one in Berlin, one in Vienna, Austria, and one somewhere in Switzerland.
But before all that, people can see you Friday night, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chris, appreciate it. Again, give out the number for people that have questions.
Okay, the number is 586-9222.
And that's the 937 area code.
That's correct.
Well, best of luck with Chris Candido this Friday night. No small task there. And good luck to you guys this Friday.
All right, I appreciate it, Shawn.
Anytime, Chris. You got the number.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Take care. Chris Hero joining us. And again, IWA running on Friday. Again, OCW Saturday night. And 1 week from tonight, we will be live at the HWA show at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds Coliseum. Want to thank Willie for the last couple of years. Want to thank Chris Hero for joining us. Want to thank everybody that chimed into the Wrestling Guys 2001 Listener Awards. And we'll be giving out the prizes. I hate to do this, but I'm running out of time. Call the Wrestling Guys hotline tomorrow. I will announce the winners. 937-285-0991. Talk to you later. Bye.
For the National Direct Victims of Terrorism Relief Fund. Call now and get one American Legal Will Kit for yourself for only $34.95 plus postage and handling, taxes included, and get another for your partner absolutely free.
For 1 hour.
A part of your life.
Studio, the tag team champions to talk radio, the Wrestling Guys.
Do I still remember how to do this? I'm wondering. You take a week off. You kind of have to get resituated, get refocused. I think we're ready. My name is Shawn Stidham. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. A little bit of a hiccup there in the opening, but I think we're okay. I think we're going to be fine. We've got a shorter show tonight. We're only going to around 6:30. The Middletown Middies are playing high school basketball tournament game tonight from the Cintas Center on the campus of Xavier University. That is against Cincinnati Woodward. And the old coach Jack Gordon, Greg Anderson, Fred Finney, and Dwight Smith will all be here just after the 6:30 news to get you ready for that. So our time is short. Our phone number, if you want to hop on board, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. It's a toll-free call. I'll pay for it. That is how much of a good guy I'm feeling this evening. You call me, I'll pay for you to call. It's that simple. A lot of stuff to get into. Let's go ahead and get you up to date with the latest what's happening in the wrestling world. First of all, we will start with the World Wrestling Federation. Not sure if this is a giveaway for what's going to happen at WrestleMania or not, but the promotional poster for WWF Backlash has been released. The poster prominently features Triple H, of course, who is going to take on Y2J for the undisputed heavyweight title at WrestleMania on March 17th. The poster, the WrestleMania poster, you might remember, revealed Stephanie McMahon would form an alliance with Jericho. Now Triple H being highlighted in the main event at Backlash could be a little bit of a giveaway what may happen at WrestleMania. Time will tell. Although those posters haven't been 100% accurate in the past, we will wait and see. The World Wrestling Federation is going to make several changes to the MTV Sunday Night Heat broadcast because the union stagehands at WWF New York cost too much money.
So apparently the World Wrestling Federation is going to go back to the old matches from the arena format. They're going to tape the matches on Tuesdays when they tape SmackDown, and there's going to be more of an emphasis on wrestling and nothing from WWF New York on Sundays, no longer with the Sunday Night Heat program. The World Wrestling Federation lost its appeal today in England, which means now it cannot use the initials WWF for any marketing purposes outside of the United States. So probably what you're going to see is more of an emphasis on WWFE, World Wrestling Federation Entertainment, and their marketing outside of the U.S., but here in the States, we're not really going to see any difference. Ratings this past Monday. Raw did a 4.7, same rating it's done the last few weeks. Fear Factor, the WWF edition on Monday night, the best rating it's done in some time, did an 8.0, and I gotta say, Matt Hardy wins it. Jackie comes in second, and the other participants, Jeff Hardy and Lita and Test and who else? Molly Holly, they were all fine. But for Test not to sack it up and take a drink of the concoction. Jackie drank it, Matt drank it. Molly, granted, she got sick, but at least she tried. And some people are saying, well, Tess took a sip of it. No, Tess didn't do anything. Now, granted, I wouldn't have drank pig brains either. But still, if I was on television playing for charity, you got to suck it up. I mean, come on, the guy's in great shape. You know he has to eat a lot of protein. The drink's all protein. Go ahead, suck it down. You'll be fine.
A part of your life, 910 WPFB.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Other news to get into. The World Wrestling Federation on its website, WWF.com. Congratulations going out to the Big Show, as the Big Show is now married. Got married on February the 11th, so congratulations going out to him. The World Wrestling Federation also getting into a promotion with 7-Eleven. Those of you that like to suck down your Slurpees, you're going to be able to get some special WWF promotional cups featuring Rob Van Dam, the Hardy Boys, The Rock, Lita, and so much more. Head out to your local 7-Eleven for that. Want to talk a little bit tonight about the WWA All-Star pay-per-view this past Sunday. We're going to talk about Randy Savage in just a minute. Also, one other quick note. You might have seen this Monday night on Monday Night Raw. Mark Henry won the World's Strongest Man contest this past Sunday in Columbus, won a $75,000 Humvee in a competition. Now, Henry, who had been on sabbatical from the World Wrestling Federation to train for the event at the request of Arnold Schwarzenegger, is going to head back down to OVW for a couple of weeks before rejoining the World Wrestling Federation roster sometime in March. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB, our toll-free number. Let's go quick to the phone lines. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys. Who's this?
Hey, Shawn. How you doing?
Good. Hey, Andy. How you doing?
Not too bad. I got two quick questions for you.
I'll do what I can.
First off, do you think that Fear Factor is going to replay? Because I had to work Monday and I forgot to tape it. So.
I would imagine it would. It was, I think, the highest-rated show it had almost all season, so I would say at some point they're going to replay that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind watching Molly Holly throw those pig brains up in slow motion, but...
Well, we all have our interests, Andy, and yours are a little different from mine, and I think everybody else listening, but go ahead.
I wanted to see what you say about that. But also, here, I'm going to bring a name up and have a where are they now for you?
Wow, I'll do what I can.
Flash Fun.
Don't know. Probably in Japan, maybe in rehab. Don't know where he is. I'll try and dig around a little bit. I think he's over in Japan, but I'm not positive.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Andrew. You have a good time. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB, the phone number. Again, this is the Wrestling Guys. We are on until 6:30 tonight because of high school basketball, so you've got about, 18 minutes to get your calls in. So get to the phone line. We're going to take a break, more of your phone calls, and we're going to talk about the Macho Man when we come back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis, your antiques.
To the Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn. Spit him again, our toll-free number, 866-910-9732, 866-910-WPFB. Want to talk a little bit about the WWA pay-per-view this past Sunday. Not sure how many of you out there got to see it. Now, there's mixed reviews. Personally, I liked it. It was a nice alternative to only the World Wrestling Federation, which is what we have right now only on pay-per-view. But I thought that with the pay-per-view, certainly there's a lot they need to work on. The overall production of the pay-per-view was pretty poor. They missed a ton of camera angles. A ton of spots were missed because of poor camera management. I also thought that, certainly Las Vegas is a great town. If you want to go out there and have a good time, Vegas is it. But for a wrestling community, for a wrestling crowd, they really didn't seem to be into the show that much. I didn't like Larry Zbyszko's rant about Vince McMahon. The WWA is trying to set itself up as an alternative to the World Wrestling Federation, and I think they need to do that on their own merit. And I think they tried to do that for the most part, but for Zbyszko to come out there and challenge Vince McMahon to a fight at a WWA show, first of all, we all know that Vince McMahon in no way is ever going to show up for a WWA show. No way, shape, or form. So why bother? For the percentage of fans out there that think that actually might happen and tune into the next pay-per-view to see if Vinnie Mac is going to show up to fight Larry Zbyszko, you're only going to disappoint them. That's bad. We also, I just think that to get the rub of Vince McMahon's name, to try and use that to get any kind of publicity, Larry Zbyszko looked like a desperate old man. And Zbyszko was on the show a few weeks ago. I like him, and it's fun to kind of joke around and pal around, but for the WWA to allow Zbyszko to do that, I just thought was a bad move on their part. The WWA also has to do a lot better job of being organized. I'll give you an example, and you might remember this story. Back about 3 or 4 weeks ago, when the tickets first went on sale for the show, they actually had to suspend the ticket sales because it turned out that the owner of the WWA, Andrew McManus, was not a licensed promoter in the state of Nevada. So they had to get rid of the ticket sales, suspend the ticket sales until the Aladdin Hotel and Casino, the venue that hosted the event, agreed to act also as the promoter. Then you come to the major story, and that being Randy Macho Man Savage. Savage was the cornerstone of the marketing for this pay-per-view. In Vegas, they even made a special casino chip to promote Randy Savage at this pay-per-view. Savage, of course, has not been on a major wrestling show, check that, any wrestling show, for about 2 years now. Savage was going to make his long-anticipated return, and even though Savage has not stepped in the ring for a couple of years, he's a guy that most feel still has a little bit of gas left in the tank, and a guy that has a very marketable mainstream name. You go to a lot of corporations that handle advertising. They maybe don't follow wrestling. They know who The Rock is. They've heard of Hulk Hogan. They've heard of Austin. They've also heard of Randy Macho Man Savage. So Savage's participation in this pay-per-view was really going to put them on the map. Well, according to Jason Powell, the Pro Wrestling Torch, the reason Savage did not appear at the pay-per-view this past Sunday after being marketed virtually up until the 11th hour, the story goes a little bit like this. Randy Savage apparently wanted $5 million a year to work for the World Wrestling All-Stars. Now, those of you wondering about $5 million a year, that's about what Austin and The Rock make for the World Wrestling Federation. Certainly, Austin and The Rock are much bigger names right now than Randy Savage and have a much greater upside than Randy Savage in terms of age and how much longer they have left in their career. Hulk Hogan, who is a bigger name than Randy Savage, even though Savage would probably argue with you on that. Hogan, a bigger name than Randy Savage. Hogan signed for $1 million to join the World Wrestling Federation. Granted, Savage was going to be the guy for the WWA, so maybe he could get $2 million, maybe $2.5 million, $5 million. There's no way. Andrew McManus said, there's no way I can pay you that much money. So Savage and his advisor said, well, take $250,000, put it into an escrow account in exchange for appearing at the pay-per-view. Then Savage came back and said, well, give me some ownership in the World Wrestling All-Stars. That was something else that McManus did not want to give up. So Savage said, well, tell you what, give me the $250,000 for my one-time pay-per-view appearance. Now let's see, working one pay-per-view, going out, having a 20-minute match, a $250,000 payday. Folks, if you can find that job, take it in a heartbeat. But McManus said, there's no way that I can pay you that much money for a one-shot deal. I'll tell you what, how about $125,000? Savage said, absolutely not. Now, the thing about this is even though Savage and McManus could not come to an agreement as far as compensation, Savage was telling McManus all the time, all the way up until last Thursday, look, I'm going to be at the pay-per-view. I'm going to appear. You've marketed me on this. I've given you my word. I will be there. We'll work out everything later. Then, on Saturday, Savage's advisors called McManus and said, there's no way Randy's going to be there. Now, I think both sides are at fault with this. One, Andrew McManus should have had the guy under lock and key before he ever announced Savage was going to be on the pay-per-view. It was a huge pie in the face for McManus to have to come on before the show ever started and say Savage is not going to be here. Savage was the cornerstone for this pay-per-view. He was what a lot of people were buying to see it, and for Savage to back out or to not be signed was a bad move on McManus' part. But again, they're a young company. I'm sure he learned by the mistake. As far as Randy Savage is concerned, Savage gave his word all week long that the guy would be there, and he no-showed. Savage probably needed to be on this pay-per-view as much as anybody because he wants $5 million a year from somebody. That is why you have not seen Randy Savage over the last couple of years. And quite clearly, if Savage is looking for $5 million, the guy doesn't want to wrestle, but if you pay him enough, he'll do it. If Savage wants to get an offer from the World Wrestling Federation, which there's been some rumors about, probably showing up on the pay-per-view when you haven't worked in a couple of years maybe was a bad move because certainly the guy has some ring rust. I don't care how much time he spent in a ring in a gym, working out with a couple of guys, sparring with a couple of guys, you're going to have some ring rust. And he probably would have looked bad on the pay-per-view. That probably would have looked bad to the World Wrestling Federation, so Savage bagged out. And I don't buy the crap that Savage and Savage's advisors told him not to be there. Savage's advisors worked for him. If Savage wanted to be there, the Macho Man would have been there this past Sunday. Clearly, Savage didn't want to wrestle, whether it was because he was going to look bad or he wasn't getting enough money, whatever the reason. He told him he would be there. He didn't show up, so he's the guy that looks like, I can't say that. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The other thing, too, in all this, talking about the WWA and Randy Macho Man Savage and the whole mess that was this past Sunday, I thought the pay-per-view was actually pretty good. I thought the opening match, the six-way cruiserweight elimination match, was very good. Very nice to see Shark Boy, a guy who's been on this show and a friend of ours, on that pay-per-view. Very nice to see him. I'd like to see Eddie Guerrero back. I thought they did a very good job on the pay-per-view, and hopefully they'll get another shot at it. But for Savage, a huge mistake on his part. And the other thing, too, excuse me, a lot of people in the World Wrestling Federation, wrestlers-wise, are upset with Randy because they thought that Savage was really going to help put the WWE on the map and give them an alternative so that when they go into contract negotiations, they have a bargaining chip. They can actually have a established company that they can go into a contract negotiation and say, well, Vince, I know you want to give me this much, but they're going to give me this much, and they're a threat, so maybe that would have jacked up the price a little bit. A little bit of a tickle my throat. Anyway, excuse me. Tell you what, we're going to take a break. I'm going to get a drink of water. When we come back, we'll finish this. You want to call in 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB. This is the Wrestling Guy.
It starts with your stuffy nose and spreads till your head feels all blocked up. Your body feels stiff and achy. That's how you feel when you have a bad cold all blocked up.
Wrestling Guys, on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Okay, I think I'm feeling okay now. Dwight, I appreciate that. Dwight Smith came in here and saved my life with the Heimlich maneuver.
The Heimlich maneuver.
That was very nice.
You're welcome.
I got a little
teary-eyed, you know?
I did. I was seeing black. I thought this was going to be it. You came in, you broke away from your Wendy from the town mall, and you saved us. I appreciate that, man.
Busted down the door to get
you. You did. You were there. You were there. You had me. I appreciate that. That was great. Welcome back to the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn. We only have about 4 minutes to go. Want to give you a couple, one more thing about the Savage thing before I nearly lost my life. Gummy bear just went down a long way. Anyway, the thing about Savage, he's upset a lot of people in the World Wrestling Federation because they thought that he was going to be able to help legitimize the WWA to make it another viable alternative. He didn't do that by not showing up. So now it's very unlikely that anybody right now is going to take a chance with Randy Macho Man Savage, especially for the kind of premium price that he's been wanting to try and gouge some people for. But the Macho Man made his bed. Now he's going to have to lie in it. Right, Dwight? I'm sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Do that again on the mic. That wasn't bad. Do that again.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's going to be something new on the show. I think we're just going to have you guys do impersonations. That'll be great. I want to give you a preview of SmackDown before we get done here. SmackDown this week, you're going to see the Dudley Boys and Jazz take on Lita and the Hardys. Also, Stone Cold Steve Austin, again, challenging the New World Order. It looks like that on Raw, the NWO is going to beat up Austin. Then on SmackDown, Austin's going to get revenge. So we'll see what happens. William Regal takes on the Big Show in a non-title match. The Intercontinental Champion puts no title on the line. The Hardcore title up for grabs when Maven from the Heartland Wrestling Association goes up against Goldust. The Undertaker and Al Snow go at one another. You like Al Snow, didn't you? There you go. Billy and Chuck take on the APA. Scotty 2 Hottie against Booker T. And your main event for SmackDown this week, a tag team affair with Kurt Angle and White. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys again, AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. Thank you for joining me on a very rainy Wednesday evening, but sit back, enjoy the program. If you want to call in tonight, we have a toll-free number for you, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. It's a toll-free phone number. We'll open the phones up for the first 15 minutes or so, so if you got a question, comment, whatever you want to talk about, you can do so right here on AM 910 WPFB. A little bit later on in the program, we will talk to the Queen of Extreme, Francine. For a number of years, she was, of course, in Extreme Championship Wrestling, where hence she got her name. Now she has recently signed with the NWA Total Nonstop Action, which begins their history 2 weeks from tonight in Huntsville, Alabama, with pay-per-view. By the way, next week, Jeff Jarrett is going to join us here on the Wrestling Guys to talk about that promotion and a lot more. So make sure you tune in for that. But first things first, let's go ahead and get into the news for this Wednesday. And this last Monday Night's Raw did a 4.1 rating, an increase after the last few weeks that only garnered a 3.9 or 3.8, something like that. But an increase in the ratings this past Monday, which, depending on which side of the fence you're on, may or may not be a good thing. Certainly, it was great to see the return of Shawn Michaels. Whether or not he's going to wrestle right now is still up in the air, but having him back, and apparently he will be back on a full-time basis, at least as a presence, be it as a manager or whatever, that's great. You can't take that away from him. However, I did not agree with the way they brought him back because, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. But the other thing I had a problem with this last Monday night on Raw was the increase in toilet humor that we saw. We saw Stone Cold Steve Austin relieving himself on Arn Anderson. We saw the stuff with Tommy Dreamer in the bucket and The Undertaker. It just seems to be that, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, Brian Dershowitz has now been named the head writer for Monday Night Raw. He is a guy that has had a history of liking that type of thing, the toilet humor, the gross-out humor. After you see the increase in the ratings, they may go, hey, this is what people want to see. This is, after all, we're losing the fear factor. This will get the fear factor audience watching us again. Like to get your opinion on that, 866-910-WPFB. What I was going to say about Shawn Michaels. With Shawn Michaels, this is a guy who over the last 4 or 5 years, however long it's been since he last wrestled in the WWE, every single day the question comes in, when is Shawn Michaels coming back? What's Shawn Michaels doing? Is he ever going to wrestle again? This last Monday, Kevin Nash introduces Shawn Michaels. A huge ovation. It was a very, very nice surprise. They managed to keep Shawn Michaels' return quiet, which was a great thing. Problem is, it really just seemed like an afterthought. Like, oh, here's Shawn Michaels, he's back. Instead of making it the event it could have become. Now, granted, I liked it was a surprise. I'm all for that. However, how much better would it have been if a week prior in Canada, where Shawn Michaels is one of the most hated men outside of Vince McMahon, if you had brought Shawn Michaels back, keep in mind that when they were in Canada, it was just 2 or 3 days after the interview on Confidential where Michaels finally admitted he was in on the Montreal screw job from the beginning. That was fresh on everybody's mind. Top of mind awareness, as we call it. Shawn Michaels was on everybody's mind. If you had booked, let's say, X-Pac against Lance Storm, and Lance Storm, of course, is going to be a huge babyface in Canada no matter what he does. If he had come out and drilled Lance Storm to let X-Pac get the win in the first round King of the Ring, that would have been huge. But we'll see what happens. 866-910-WPFB is our phone number. We're going to take our first break early tonight. When we come back, we will talk to Francine, the Queen of Extreme, here on The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis, your antiques expert, with the Antique of the Day.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Withrow. Here's the community calendar on AM 910 WPFB, brought to you by Town Point Senior Living, the place on the hill.
The Mid-Miami Valley Chamber of Commerce presents 2002 Tee Off with Win 9-hole scramble. That's going to be June 13th at the Forest Hills Sports Country Club. Lunch speaker is going to be Kim Grant, Sales and Marketing Director for the Wright State University Athletics Department. For more information, call the Chamber office at 422-4551. The annual Quilt Show at the Fitness Center for Creative Arts is going to have a new twist this year. The exhibition titled Summer Picnic, Quilts and Basket will feature quilts with basket patterns and themes, and the quilts will be complemented by an exhibit of the hard maple splint baskets made by local artist Chris Jones. The show's going to run June 29th to August 10th. Information, log on to fitnesscenter.org or call 863-8873.
Do you know where some of the finest glass in the world was produced? Here are 2 hints. It's another Ohio antique and not too far from Middletown. In Newark, Ohio, from 1895 to 1954, Heisey Glass produced wonderful glass articles such as pitchers, bowls, and plates. Heisey Glass was made in clear and color such as that ever-popular pink. You know, it just has the look of quality. When you hold a pitcher made by Heisey, it has a heavy feeling. Not too heavy, but just enough weight to make you realize this is good stuff. Too bad the company went out of business in 1954. It is easy to spot Heisey Glass. Just turn a piece over, look for an H inside a diamond. Here in Ohio, it's been collected forever, so it's not as plentiful as you might think, and it's a little pricey. A Heisey pitcher from the 1930s can sell for hundreds of dollars, but it still can't stop us from appreciating Heisey Glass.
Your 910 WPFB forecast for the Sunday corridor. Tonight, severe thunderstorm watch out until 7 p.m. Also, a flood watch in effect for tonight. Occasional showers and thunderstorms. Some storms may be severe. Early heavy rainfall also possible with a low of 63. Right now, it's 82. Great radio the way it was meant to be. Imagination Theater, Saturdays at 5, Sundays at 6 on WPFB.
And now back to the wrestling guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB, the voice of the Sunday Corridor. My name is Shawn Stidham. Our toll-free number is 866-910 WPFB, 866-910-9732. Joining me now, of course, she made her mark in Extreme Championship Wrestling for over 7 years. She managed the likes of Justin Credible and Shane Douglas and Tommy Dreamer and so many others. And now she's going to be a part of the NWA Total Non-Stop Action, which, of course, begins 2 weeks from tonight on pay-per-view. I'm talking about none other than the Queen of Extreme, Francine. Francine, how are you doing? Hold on a second. We got to get you. There you go. How are you doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I said it earlier. It was about a year and a half ago. You were in studio with us.
Right.
With Big Daddy Rod Cox and everything with the guys from UCW. Why haven't you been in town since then?
I don't know.
You need to come back.
I need to be booked.
We need to book you.
You need to book me.
Do we call Kent for that?
If you book them, they will come. Yeah. Well, you can also go to my website, and I deal with the people directly on that. There's an email address. If you go to www.foreverfrancine.com, there's a way to get a hold of me through another agent that I have online.
Gotcha.
And I can call you back personally.
There you go.
Yep.
So there's no other excuse. Somebody out there book this girl so we can get her back in the studio.
I'm telling you.
Because then we can set you up like more free stuff.
That would be great.
Now, you're all set for the Powerpuff Girls movie, right?
I am taking my niece to see it. I don't know when the release date is, but I am planning on going. And
because Graham wanted me to ask you.
They
Graham,
can
of course,
ask,
being the son of Willie F., who became a huge fan of yours. And set you up with some stuff, if I remember correctly. Bought you some very nice gifts, and he wanted to make sure that you still like the Powerpuff Girls.
I love them. I still love them. They're 3 little girls that kick ass. They're in kindergarten. I mean, how can you not love a concept like that?
It's a great role model.
It's wonderful. I love them.
What were you big into growing up? As far as what was your role model as far as trying to get into wrestling?
I liked Sherry Martel, and to this day I love Sherry Martel. So when I finally started with the wrestling school and I went to my first show, I got to meet Sherry. Unfortunately, that was the only show I saw her at because she had left to go to WCW at the time. So I never worked with her, which I really wanted to because I think she's the best ever manager, and just as the heel character, I thought she played it to a T. So what I did was I just incorporated Sherry Martel with Nancy Sullivan, who was woman, and because Nancy looked phenomenal, and Sherry was just this tremendous bitch bump taking crazy lady. And I just put the two together and came up with the Francine character. So my biggest influence in this business, woman-wise, was Sherry Martel.
And probably, though, going back to Nancy Sullivan, she was really the original as far as coming out, I think, and being, for our generation, because we're around the same age, mid-20s to early 30s. And
I'm only 19, dude.
I forgot that. I'm sorry.
Come on now.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm the old one here.
Yeah, you're the old one.
Yeah, but Nancy Sullivan as woman with Kevin Sullivan was really the originator, as you said, being the bitch woman.
Yeah.
But then Sherry Martel exploded onto the national level.
Right, because you always had Elizabeth as the good little baby-faced woman who just cowered in the corner, and like Nancy was a super bitch, and Sherry was just so she incorporated, like Nancy didn't do much, bump-wise or wrestling-wise, but Sherry just took it to a whole nother level. And to this day, I've never worked with her, and I haven't seen her since that day, which was over 8 years ago. So, hopefully one day we'll get to work together or at least meet up. And
Sherry actually is in this area, in the whole Cincinnati, Dayton, Indiana, Kentucky, because I know she appeared, I guess, about a month ago for a show Ian Rotten did, IWA Mid-South.
Okay.
So, if you get to this area, we can hook you up with Sherry.
I would love to.
You see where we're working with this. We're trying to get you back here.
She's a mentor. She's awesome. And, when I first started out, I would watch tapes to her and Randy Savage just to see, because they work so well together. So I'd love to.
The Queen of Extreme, Francine, joining us here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Your name came up. Good news for you. About a week ago, I guess, the big announcement was made that you would be a part of the new NWA Total Nonstop Action. How did that come about that you joined this new group?
I was reading online about it. I think it was on One Wrestling, and I had saw that there was they had an address up there. So what I did was I just put a resume together and I sent some 8x10s, and I hadn't heard anything. And then I read an article that Bob Ryder was involved. So I just emailed Bob because Bob and I went back, from the ECW days, and I had just asked him if they received my package, and then he said that. Jeff Jarrett was really familiar with my work, so if I could send the tape so Jerry can see my work. So I said, fine, and it was a different address than the one I'd sent my stuff to previously. So I just got another, package together, did another resume, and made a tape up. I sent it to them, and I guess Jerry liked it because I got a call a week later asking me if I wanted to sign a contract. So it was awesome.
How excited are you to be able to perform on the national level again?
I'm ecstatic about it. I think it's a great opportunity. I think there's some great talent in the locker room. I'm looking forward to getting back on television and getting back to working in front of a large group of people. So I am so excited about this whole thing. It's just like, it's a great feeling to know that, it was something that you love to do and kind of lost heart for it after, working for ECW for the 7 years. When that folded, I was like, oh my God, it was devastating.
Right.
And now I'm getting the love for the sport back again because I'm so excited about this new opportunity. So I'm really looking forward to June 19th.
Have you been very selective about what you do? Joey Styles a couple of weeks ago announced he was going to be doing some voiceover work. I believe it's Major League Wrestling that's booked at the ECW Arena sometime this month. Mm-hmm. And he had said that he had tried to stay out of it because nothing felt as special as what he had in ECW until he got that offer. Have you been selective about what you were going to do as well because you didn't want to taint your opinion or your image of this business?
I try to take as many bookings as I can. But there's certain things I just wouldn't do, like something where they wanted me to get stripped down to a thong and do evening gown matches. And like for Paul and for ECW, I'll do it. For this NWA, if they want me to do something like that, yes, I'll do it. But for these indie shows, I didn't feel comfortable doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just like, I can't explain it. There's certain things I won't do. I have a limit that I won't cross. A line I won't cross, rather.
Right.
But, if it's for the best interest of the company, I'm all for anything, really. So, but certain indie shows, because, it didn't make sense. Some guys, they just want to throw it on there because they need some TNA on the show, but it doesn't make sense. If you don't build up a feud with two women, why would you just have them? Never saw you before, but let's do an evening gown match just for the hell of it.
That, or also they get some sleazeball promoters that were just hoping to bring you in for a Bronco Buster.
In my underwear, which I'm not really doing.
It's like, go to the entertainment section in the phone book and, do it that.
If there's a point to it, I'm pretty open and I'll do it. But, see, Joey's a different story because Joey actually has his own business to fall back on.
Right.
Over the last 8 years, all I've been doing is wrestling. So, I was at a point in my life where I contemplated quitting the business because I was just so frustrated with everything, but I'm glad I held on because now I have the NWA.
Well, I remember last year when you came into the studio, it was right after the final ECW show. At that time, we really didn't know what the future was.
Exactly.
And I remember you were very emotional at that time,
mm-hmm.
Talking about it, saying, God, I don't want this to end, I don't want this to end, and of course it did.
Well,
but it's so great that you're coming back on a national level, and especially some of the talent you've got there, like the Jeff Jarretts, like Rick Steiner, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I think.
I think it's going to be a great time, and like for the women that they have there. I mean, I'm really good friends with Bobcat, who was signed. I'm friends with Electra from ECW. I've heard nothing but good things about, Alicia Webb, who was Ryan Shamrock, and the girl Vanessa coming up from the Indies. I hear she's a really nice girl, so I'm really looking forward to working with those women, and I'm looking forward to seeing, familiar faces like Jerry Lynn and Joel Gertner.
Right.
And, with Jeff Jarrett, I spoke to him for the first time. I mean, I met him at the airport once, and he was very nice there. That was the only meeting I've ever, face-to-face, but when I spoke to him on the phone, he was so nice. It was like I've known him for like 20 years. Everybody has been so great so far that I had to dealt with. So I haven't had any problems, and I'm just very, very excited to be a part of this company.
The Queen of Extreme, Francine, joining us on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Are you looking at this group thinking that possibly you're going to have the same type of locker room chemistry as far as a bunch of people banded together for one common purpose of trying to put on the best show possible, instead of hopefully in some locker rooms we've seen of there being a lot of ego clashing and things like that?
Well, I'm hoping for the first statement.
Is that the kind of impression you've gotten, though, in talking with Jeff and talking with Bob Ryder and Jeremy Borash and those folks, that that's what they're trying to achieve, is that same ECW, let's go out there and bust our ass mentality?
I think so. I mean, at this point, with wrestling being the way it is right now, the ratings are down, and, we're just hoping to give people an alternative, a good alternative for, Wednesday nights. And, we're already getting criticism because, we have to pay for it, why can't you give a free show? And if you look at it this way, you're paying $39.95 for a 3-hour pay-per-view, but you're paying, I think there's a special package if you get it for the month.
Right, they're working on that, yeah.
Okay, so let's say it's $33, $34, but you're getting 8 hours of wrestling for that amount. So my philosophy is just try it for the first week. Spend $9.95. Hopefully you'll be hooked and you'll want to watch this every single week. Don't condemn it before it takes off. I think everybody should just give it a try, and I mean, because you don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what role I'm going to be playing in it yet either. I'm just excited to, get my plane ticket, show up, and go back to work.
Absolutely.
So there's going to be a ton of surprises. There's so much talent on the roster, and it's a good alternative to what your, Monday and Thursday nights are going to hold. Wednesday night's going to be a different story. So.
And I would think that even if you're a fan of the WWF, I think everybody has been pretty much disenchanted with the product over the last year, ever since the downfall of ECW and WCW. The times when wrestling is the best is when there's competition. And if you have a viable second promotion out there on a national level that's running and that's good and that's competitive, even if you're strictly a WWF fan, that's only going to make Vince and those guys better, and at the same time, it's going to make you better as well, because you guys are going to be competing at one another, trying to put on the best show, and in the end, the fans win. So I think, especially if you are somebody that loves to buy a pay-per-view, I think Jeremy brought up the point before. You're going to get 12 to 15 hours of programming for the price of one pay-per-view from the other company.
Right. And if you look at it this way also, I mean, 2-3 years ago, when Nitro and Raw were head-to-head at their best, we got 11 million wrestling fans tuning in to wrestling on Monday nights.
Right.
Now it's, what is it, down to 4 million or 5 million?
4 million, yep. Good point.
Hopefully we'll bring those people back to wrestling, the 6-7 million people floating around that have chose to watch, Little House on the Prairie reruns instead of wrestling or whatever they're tuning into.
Is that what you're watching now on Monday night, Little House on the Prairie? You don't strike me as a Little House on the Prairie kind, Francine. No offense.
I watched it when I was younger, I must admit, but no, I don't watch it now.
Are you watching any of the current product from on Monday or Thursday nights?
Honestly, I haven't been. Not for the last maybe month. I haven't tuned in at all.
So you haven't had a chance to see the puke and the urinations and all that, right?
No. I'll read the results.
Right.
Like online and just to see what their attendance was and stuff like that, because everybody in the business is a little newsy when it comes to what other people are doing. But I've read about the puking and the
and the other stuff, the bodily stuff,
bodily fluids, and you know what? If that's what Tommy needs to do to get a spot on that show, then God bless him. I hope he makes $1 million puking. I mean, honestly, he's done it in ECW when we were in the back.
Right.
Just on dares, and he would do things, and I would holler at him and say, don't do that. That's disgusting. And he stopped, and now he's doing it again. So, but now he's doing it in front of millions of people. So, God bless him. I wish everybody luck that came from my locker room. And, if that gets him a spot on Raw, that's great.
Absolutely.
So that's the way I look at it. So everybody that's putting them down for it, it is disgusting, but, I bet you if half these guys had a chance to do it, they'd do it in a heartbeat.
Well, especially because you get more money if you appear on TV than if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
And bottom line is, with only one national company at this time, you've got to do what you're told, or else, you're...
There's no job.
Exactly. So I think that's another reason why I think myself and so many people want to see the NWA succeed. Because it sounds like, by talking with people, it's going to be a mix of the traditional stuff along with what's captivated fans over the last few years, some of the hardcore stuff, some of the extreme stuff, if you will. And I think it's going to be an interesting blend, and I'm hoping it works out.
Yeah, I think we're going to push the envelope a little bit, but like I said, nothing was said to me about my role or anybody else's. I mean, I don't even know what guy I'm going to walk to the ring. So there'll be a lot of surprises and a lot of questions answered.
No, there are rumors, Francine. You know how rumors are in this business.
Well,
there are rumors
that
Shane Douglas could be a part of the company. And, of course, you two have a history.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about him, so I have no idea.
I can't get anything out of you on that, can I?
No.
So in other words, you're forcing me to tune in on the 19th of June.
I think you should tune in on June 19th. And, I mean, honestly, don't you just want to see what I'm wearing?
That we do. That we do.
That's worth $9.95 in itself.
I'm looking at you right now on foreverfrancine.com.
Oh,
so,
are you really?
Yes, I am.
And what pic would you be staring at?
Where you've got like some black furry thing on.
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
It's a very nice picture.
Thank you very much,
Of course, you are going to be in the area locally for IWA Mid-South Wrestling. If you want to make the little drive over to Indiana, it's only about 2 or 3 hours from here.
Yeah, that's on the 14th?
June 14th at the Knights of Columbus Hall, Indianapolis, and on the 15th at the IWA Mid-South Arena in Clarksville, Indiana.
That's right.
So there you go.
See me.
So you see, it's a short little drive, but you see, we got to work on getting you back to Dayton or Cincinnati.
I know. Well, like I said, you can go to the website and just drop us an email, and then it'll get forwarded to me, and I'll give you guys a call. So.
There we go. ForeverFrancine.com is her website. Again, NWA Total Nonstop Action is going to start on June the 19th. Their website's NWATNA.com. Yep. Francine, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Shawn.
Enjoy the Powerpuff Girls movie when it comes out.
I am going to enjoy it with my big popcorn and candy in hand, and I'll be thinking of you guys.
There we go. Maybe when we get you back here in the area, by that time it'll be on DVD, and we can hook up Graham to spend some allowance money on that.
Fabulous.
You like that idea?
I like it a lot.
There we go. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We're going to break for news when we come back. More on the wrestling, guys, on AM 910 WPFB.
Do you know where your news is?
On 910 WPFB, the Middletown News Authority.
I'm Dwight Smith, 910 WPFB News. A trio of males arrested by Middletown police with help from Franklin officers after they were caught breaking into cars in the Middletown area. Officers arrested 17-year-old Matthew Hudson, 18-year-old Jesse Price, and 21-year-old Jonathan Holland early Wednesday in Franklin. The males were seen breaking into a car in the 1800 block of Galway Drive and then fled toward Franklin. Franklin police stopping them as they entered the city. Officers finding a number of stolen items in the stolen truck they were driving. The trio being charged with petty theft, possession of criminal tools, and criminal damaging. Holland also being charged with criminal trespass, disorderly conduct, having an open flask, and a second charge of petty theft. A pair of brothers indicted in November after deceiving a number of people, suppliers, and a bank, part of a first in Butler County. Daniel and William Hicks deceiving the people when they told them they would build pole barns but never did so. The pair with their brother Timothy charged with 55 counts of theft from consumers, suppliers, and a bank totaling nearly $275,000. Daniel entering a guilty plea and being sentenced Wednesday to 18 months in jail, while William was found guilty last week and will be sentenced July 10th. Timothy was acquitted of all charges brought against him. According to Butler County Prosecutor's Office, the Hicks brothers are the first convictions in the county under the state's new racketeering statute. A case of possible meningitis here in Ohio.
A 12-year-old boy from Amanda is at Children's Hospital recovering from a mysterious illness that may have been meningitis. Parents of students at Amanda Elementary School have received a letter listing the symptoms of meningitis at the request of the Fairfield County officials. Symptoms include severe headache, stiff neck, nausea, and a rash of a purple-red color.
Your 910 WPFB forecast tonight, severe thunderstorm watch till 7, also flood watch, otherwise occasional showers and thunderstorms. Heavy rainfall is possible, a little low of 63.
Is your house looking a bit under the weather? Have extreme weather conditions taken your toll on your home's exterior? The solution isn't more paint. It's Choose weather-resistant vinyl siding from Sears Home Services. Call Sears for a free in-home estimate at 1-800-858-1044. Call now and save $500 on select styles. Sears Vinyl Siding has the attractive look of freshly painted wood. You'll never need to scrape and paint again because it's virtually maintenance-free. And best of all, Sears guarantees your complete satisfaction or your money back. So call Sears for a free in-home estimate. 1-800-858-1044. Call now and save $500 on select styles. Offer ends August 31st. Lights and numbers available upon request. Not available in all areas. Ask your representative for offer details and written warranty. So, if your house is looking under the weather, call Sears now. 1-800-858-1044. That's 1-800-858-1044.
You're listening to the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. My thanks to Francine for joining us on AM 910 WPFB. Again, if you want to check out her website, it's foreverfrancine.com, and she will be a part of the NWA's Total Nonstop Action when they start up on pay-per-view starting on June the 19th. And for more details, you can log on there to NWATNA.com. Go ahead and update you a few things from the NWA Total Nonstop Action. Some of the announcements they've made over the last couple of weeks, since we talked a week ago, I should say. They have signed Rick Steiner to be a part of the promotion. Also, they have announced the main event, which is the Gauntlet for the Gold Battle Royal. Basically, it's a Royal Rumble-type match where you start off with two wrestlers in the ring. Every 90 seconds, another wrestler will enter the match, and up until 20 wrestlers. A wrestler is eliminated when they're thrown over the top rope. When they get down to the final two, traditional rules will go into effect where you have to win by either a pinfall or submission, and the winner of that will become the NWA World Champion. Now, also signed to this match, Ken Shamrock, Jeff Jarrett, of course, also Scott Hall. Just a few weeks after being fired by the WWE, Scott Hall has signed to be a part of the NWA's Total Nonstop Action. Certainly that signing has risen a few eyebrows around the wrestling world. People wondering if Scott Hall is too much of a risk for a promotion just starting, because after all, Scott Hall probably the biggest name that the group has. And if you do something, if something screws up with him, it could be bad news for the entire promotion. Also, Buff Bagwell, Brian Christopher, Ken Shamrock, and an indie wrestler known as Gran Apollo is going to be a part of the first Gauntlet for the Gold match. Also, former NWA World Champion Ricky the Dragon Steamboat will join former World Champions Harley Race and Dory Funk Jr. on the show. No word yet on exactly how they are going to be used. Some news backstage regarding Ed Ferrara, who joined us last week here on the Wrestling Guys, who is going to be one of the play-by-play men for the show, and BJ Bethel from PWTorch.com is going to join us in a few minutes, and we'll talk about that. But first, let's go to the phones. 866-910-WPFB is our toll-free phone number, and let's go to Rico. You're on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Yeah, how's it going?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Not bad. I was wondering how long you thought... Hello?
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 How long you thought Shawn Michaels and NWA would last?
That's a good question, because Shawn Michaels has been out for so long, and as of right now, from what I understand, the initial plan is for him not to wrestle immediately, although most people feel like it's just a matter of time before he does get back into the ring. I think he's going to be mainly used as a manager, kind of a spokesperson, but I got to think before the end of the year, something's going to happen to bring him back into the ring. If you looked at him this last Monday, he certainly looked a lot more in shape than he had in his past appearances over the last few years. And I think the way he was moving around, let's face it, even though the guy had major back surgery, that was 4 or 5 years ago, and his body has had all that time to rest and recover. I don't think Shawn Michaels is capable of being the same HBK that would fly over the top rope and go through a table, but I certainly think that 70% of Shawn Michaels is better than a lot of the guys, 100% that are going right now.
Okay, yeah. Well, I was wondering if, the Jeff Hardy thing, with the Undertaker and everything like that, you think that'll, bring a split with the Hardy Boys maybe soon?
I don't know if they'll split up the Hardy Boys just because they tried that before and it really didn't work. What they're doing is playing off of a lot of internet rumors about Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, for about the last 7 or 8 months, talking with people that know him and talking with him, a lot of people feel like he's gotten really disenchanted with the business. Jeff is a guy that likes extreme things. That is not a gimmick. That is him. He likes to race motorcycles. He likes to jump motorcycles. He likes to skydive. He likes to do a lot of crazy stuff. And I think that being on the road so much has led to some burnout. I think he would like to try some other things with his life. I know he's been in a band before, and I think he would like to try and devote a little more to that. But the money is good in wrestling, so I don't know exactly where he stands, but it will be interesting to see exactly what they do with him this Sunday on Heat. He goes up against the Big Show, so it looks like they're going to have a trend here with Jeff Hardy going against guys who are much bigger than him, and we'll see if they maybe knock him out, make him crazy, and give him some time off, or if it's going to be an accelerated push where he gets to actually beat some of these guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Rico.
Yeah, I just want to can I get a shout out real quick?
Real quick.
I want to give a shout out to my fat ninja friend named Jeremy.
You're fat. I didn't know there was a fat ninja. That's kind of like an oxymoron, isn't it?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Rico, appreciate it. Thank you. Toll-free number if you want to take Rico's place. A fat ninja friend. Okay. 866-910-WPFB is our toll-free number here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Quick preview of SmackDown tomorrow night. There will be a battle royal with the winner getting a title shot against The Undertaker. Also, you've got Rico and Rikishi defending the tag team titles against Billy and Chuck. Christian takes on Val Venus in another King of the Ring qualifying match. You've also got, hold on, got my notes all over the place here. You've got the winners of the Battle Royal wrestling to find out who the number one contender is. Also, who is the stalker of the Hurricane? That will be revealed tomorrow night. TJ Bethel is going to join us here on the Wrestling Guys, here on the voice of the Sunday Corridor, AM 910 WPFB.
It's never too soon to start building a secure future. While Social Security benefits were never meant to be your sole source of income in retirement, it is important to know what benefits you can expect to get from Social Security when you're eligible. To help you build your financial future, Social Security will be sending you an annual Social Security statement. Look for your statement in the mail about 3 months before your birthday. Besides finding out what you'll be eligible to receive at various ages, your statement shows how much you've paid into Social Security over the years. You'll also find out the amount of benefits you'll be eligible for if you become disabled and can't work for a year or more. And you'll find out what benefits your family can receive if you die. Your Social Security statement has valuable information you can use to build your financial future. Look your statement over and remember to keep it with your other important financial papers. The future is in your hands.
This crime prevention and safety tip brought to you by the Middletown Division of Police.
Many criminals will spend no longer than 60 seconds to try breaking into a home, and almost 50% of burglars enter homes or property through unlocked doors or windows. Wooden exterior doors have either solid core or hollow core construction. Solid core doors and metal doors provide the greatest security. They were able to withstand attacks by burglars and are best suited for installation of good locks. If you're unsure of the construction of your door, have a professional check it for you. Exterior doors should have a deadbolt lock with a minimum 1.5-inch strong metal bar extending into the frame. The screws of the strike plate should measure at least 3 inches in length to extend into the frame of the house. The cylinder should have a steel guard around the key section. Install a wide-angle lens viewer in the front door and use it. This permits you to see someone standing outside your door without opening it. Door chains are not security devices. Remember, an unlocked door is an invitation for criminals. This is Detective Scott McGuire, the Middletown Division.
Hey, Pat, driving the big rig. Time for a little reality check. Let's say you're standing in line to buy movie tickets. What do you say?
Don't even think about it.
Right. Now, what if a four-wheeler out on the highway wants to cut in front of your truck?
Don't even think about it.
Wrong. Out there, the stakes are higher. So take the high road and back off. In a wreck, everyone loses. A public service safety message from the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
What a day for a family reunion. Denise, give Grandpa a hug. Hit a home run for me today?
You bet.
My family means a lot to me since I found out I have diabetes. It can cause major health problems, so I'm taking control. I exercise, watch what I eat, take my medicine, and test my blood sugar.
Watch me knock this ball right out of the park.
I keep my diabetes under control so I can see my granddaughter, the next Jackie Robinson.
Control your diabetes for life. Call 1-800-438-5383.
You're listening to The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB, the voice of the Sunday Corridor. My name is Shawn Stidham, and joining us one of our favorite guests, BJ Bethel from the Pro Wrestling Torch. How you doing, BJ?
I'm a favorite now. Wow.
You are a favorite. You're moving up on the ladder.
Wow. I'm above the baggage handler for the Wrestling Guys radio show.
You're above our bodyguard.
Okay, I'm the bodyguard, huh?
You are not the bodyguard.
Okay.
I mean, come on. I mean, I think a lot of people have seen you. You're really not the bodyguard-looking guy.
I know Kung Fu, though.
Okay. Anyway, BJ Bethel.
I know his brother, too.
On the Wrestling Guys, AM 910 WPFB. Let's get your take on a few things. First of all, let's talk about what happened at the Nashville Fairgrounds this past weekend. A confrontation between Ed Ferrara and Jim Cornette.
Well, my take on it is Ed's got a reputation for being a guy that can get along with people very easily.
Okay, hold on. We got to set the stage here.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to teach you this stuff.
Okay.
You got to set the stage so then when we explain our opinions, people know what the hell we're talking about.
I'm not a radio professional the likes of Shawn Stidham.
I know, but you will be.
I'm a
trust me.
writer.
I know, you're a writer.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'll go. I get the point now.
Okay, Ed Ferrara, of course, used to write for the World Wrestling Federation, then went on to WCW.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette, Ed Ferrara, Vince Russo all had problems when they all worked for the WWF. When Ed Ferrara went to WCW, he created a character known as Oklahoma, which was a parody on Jim Ross.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette took offense to this character because one, JR is a good friend of his, and two, Cornette was not happy about the fact that in the parody of the character, they particularly made fun of JR's Bell's palsy syndrome.
Yeah.
This last weekend, the two were both at the Nashville Fairgrounds, and that's when they had a discussion. Now, take it from there. What happened next?
This is a USA Pro Wrestling show. Both were in the back. Ed Ferrara was there to practice announcing for the upcoming NWA TNA pay-per-view that's coming up. Jim Cornette was there to do announcing for that particular show. Ferrara supposedly went up to Cornette to say hi. Well, Cornette got in his face and basically was tearing him a new one about Jim Ross.
And at some point, Cornette spit on Ferrara and said, that is for JR.
Yeah.
Now, some people you talk to say, hey, you know what? Jim Cornette was sticking up for his friend. Good for him. Other people say that Cornette was very out of line, that even if Ferrara had instigated it, Cornette should have taken the higher road, especially after he has a contract with the WWF, and should have not spit on Ed Ferrara, or started the argument.
Yeah. I personally, for everything I heard, Ed Ferrara's a nice guy. I think maybe Jim got a little bit out of hand this time around, but to me that doesn't excuse the fact that maybe the parody he did do of Jim Ross is a little distasteful. And frankly, if this is something that affects him in the wrestling business for years to come, then that's his own fault. And you can expect to get dealing with people that are close with each other, and you're doing it in a public arena. You know, it's going to get a lot of emotional feedback from that, and Cornette certainly gave that to Ed Ferrara.
And Cornette is a guy, along with Jim Ross, along with Les Thatcher, old school guys that are very loyal. Whatever you want to say about them, and personally I like all three of those guys, JR, Cornette, and Les. But whatever you want to say about those guys, they are loyal, and they will back you. And if you insult one of them or do something against one of them, you do it against the entire friendship, the entire group.
Yeah.
So I can understand, knowing Cornette a little bit, it doesn't shock me that he did it,
yeah.
But does it make it right? That's debatable.
Now,
I commend him for sticking up for JR.
Yeah.
But when you spit on somebody, that's taking it to a new level.
Yes, that probably was a little bit past the line, I would say. But if he were to kick Vince Russo between the legs, Cornette, I find that passable, though. I don't think that's crossing the line.
Well, probably not.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of the NWA Total Nonstop Action, reports are that even though they're doing a lot of promotion, hyping up the pay-per-view, they're not doing a lot of things locally in Huntsville, Alabama, and as of today, there are still fifth-row seats available for that show.
Yeah.
How big of a problem will that be?
It's going to be a major problem, because if they want the show to come across as something big on TV, they're going to have to heavily paper the crowd. This was a problem they anticipated, because Huntsville, Alabama has always been a poor-drawing town as far as getting people to show up to the arena.
Now, if Huntsville, Alabama is known as a poor town,
yeah,
why would you book your first pay-per-view there, especially when the Jarrett promotions are so well known in Tennessee? You could have went into Memphis, you could have went into Nashville, both towns that are known to be wrestling towns where you could book the Malkies in the main event and draw 1,000 people.
Because your corporation is being run by a bunch of people that have little to no business in running a successful wrestling promotion. And that's on the side of the guys, not so much Jerry Jarrett's part, but on some of the guys that his buddy Jeff, or I should say his son Jeff, has brought in to help him out. I really believe that. I think that they are seriously, I think they're making some serious mistakes right now, where if they're not rectified immediately, it's going to cause a total disaster. And I think the booking of this event was one of them. And I think they're making more of them as the time goes on.
Well, I think there's been a lot of questions raised because, first of all, you signed Scott Hall and Buff Bagwell.
Yes.
Now, granted, Scott Hall is still a major name in this business, but Scott Hall brings a lot of baggage. And if Hall does something in that locker room at this early stage of the promotion's lifespan, it could be fatal for that company.
Exactly. And you have to wonder what kind of message they're trying to send out here when they're bringing a guy like this in. They got to think, you know what, he didn't last in WCW, which was, next to, I guess, hell as far as the locker room. He just got kicked out of the WWF, despite the fact all his best buddies are running the show backstage. Why bring this guy in? Has he had a great match recently? No. He's been a proven draw recently? Not really. And I think you're sending a message that basically we're just going to bring that this company is more concerned about bringing in their buddies and sticking out whatever they think their vision of what a wrestling promotion should be than giving the fans what they want.
Well, I think that, and I said this with Francine earlier, I think everybody wants to see a second national company.
Yeah.
And I think they have a good mix of young talent. They're going to use AJ Styles. From what we understand, Shark Boy could be brought in as well soon. You have Ken Shamrock. You have Jeff Jarrett, who I've always been a fan of. When WCW was going down like the Titanic, Jeff Jarrett still gave his all every single week, and I commend him for that,
yeah.
And I think he's very enjoyable to watch. But some of the decisions they made, such as Mortimer Plumtree, I think are very questionable, especially when there's more talented personnel out there that did send tapes in and try to get into this company.
Exactly. And I think that I tell you what, this company right now is being ran like a boys' club. And they're not going to get anywhere doing this. And they're doing things so far right now that's no different than what you're seeing in WCW when Russo was in charge or what you've seen in the WWF the last couple of years. So far, they have more women signed than they do cruiserweights for their cruiserweight division. Right now, they have Low-Key, AJ Styles, and Jerry Lynn signed. You know what? Those three guys are awesome. I love them to death. But you know what? That's not enough for a cruiserweight division, and I don't think there's enough guys that are down at Wildside to make up for that. I mean, there's something to be said when the company has more women signed than anybody else.
Good point.
And I just think they're going the wrong way with this. So far, they have a women's battle royal book. That's what they plan to open the show with. On top of that, this Mortimer Plumtree is being considered for an openly gay manager character. Now, we've all seen how well this got over with, let's say, Lenny and Lodi and Goldust and Billy and Chuck.
Well, Lenny and Lodi have signed on to the NWA as well, and they're going to be managed by Joel Gertner.
Well, that's scary. Well, at least the women will be safe when they're in the ring.
Well, the thing is, if you run, and we've heard about this a million times, an openly gay character in wrestling typically is a very bad move with that crowd.
Yeah.
And it is known to be a career killer.
Exactly. And if you look at everyone that's ever attached to a gimmick like that, it's blown up in their face, and their careers never recovered.
And the other thing, too, is with the NWA being a very new promotion, if you get that kind of negative publicity like Lenny and Lodi got in WCW.
Exactly.
If the company was a few years old, then you say, you know what, we're going to be cutting edge, we're going to do this.
Yes.
But if you run a character out there, especially if you do stereotypes, because that will kill them.
Oh, exactly.
It will absolutely kill them, and it should.
It should. And on top of that, you're setting yourself up where the only publicity you're getting is bad stuff. Because if you look at DirecTV's catalog this month, you'll see promos for Backyard Wrestling 2 or whatever, or the best of Backyard Wrestling, but you won't see anything about NWA TNA.
Good point. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the other company that wants to go national, the XWF. They've kind of been on the back burner for the last few months. They've canceled more shows than they've run in their history. Now there's problems because the owner, Walter Frank, he may be in some financial trouble because of what's going on across the other side of the world.
Yeah. Right now, Walter Frank, most of his investments are made in the country of India. In case you guys have been living under a rock and you haven't been watching Fox News lately, India and Pakistan are close to going to war right now, so their attention has been highly diverted the past like 2 or 3 weeks since things have heightened over there. That's been really bad for the wrestling side of things because while that's been going on, they've had a couple TV deals that have been sitting down on their desk and they haven't had chances to look at them. Now they're getting to the point where they're actually thinking of paying for a television spot to run these 5 episodes of TV that they tape. And if history tells right, that's not a smart decision to make.
And not only that, these shows that were taped a year ago, Jerry Lawler's the color commentator.
Yeah.
Hulk Hogan appears on the program. if you run these shows out there, there's a very good chance that unless they're edited properly, they're going to look very dated and very old. And
don't forget Kurt Hennig.
And what are you going to do after 5 weeks?
Is
it going to be like the WXO and simply go away, or are they going to try and while they have this 5-week run of TV, are they going to try and put another show together to piggyback off of that, to build something?
I highly doubt they're going to spike ratings to the point that the television network's willing to throw money at them to stay on. So to be honest, any move like that, to pay for a spot and to shoot your load that early, so to speak, would be a huge mistake. And frankly, I just think that these two startup companies, I think they both have some potential to do well. XWF definitely got their mindset towards a younger, family-oriented audience. And NWA TNA, I think their pay-per-view concept could work, but there's some major tweaking they're going to have to do, and they also have to do a lot better in the publicity department, because right now, unless you're on the internet, you listen to the wrestling guys, you don't know who they are.
Nice little plug there. BJ Bethel joining us on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Want to get your thoughts on this last Monday's Raw. Ratings are up for the first time in a few weeks. They go past the 4.0 mark, but a lot of people are concerned because of what we saw this last Monday. You see Stone Cold Steve Austin relieving himself on Arn Anderson. By the way, with that being that yellow, he might need to go see a urologist. There may be some serious problems there.
Yes, Gatorade Lime, the official urine of WWE superstars everywhere.
But also you have what's going on with Tommy Dreamer continuing on a weekly basis. And you've got to wonder, with the ratings going up after we see that kind of things happening this last Monday, is that a bad thing? Because is that going to only open the door for Brian Dershowitz to say, hey, let's do more of that, since that's apparently what the folks want to see?
Well, let me ask you a question. What did Raw last week end with?
Raw the previous week?
Yes.
That ended, I'm trying to remember, the Eddie Guerrero and Rob Van Dam and Benoit, okay.
Okay, then Benoit, Flair, Arn, beat down Austin. Next week, maybe the fans were expecting to see a Four Horsemen reunion.
Either a Four Horsemen reunion or something more of what they saw with the match between Van Dam and Guerrero, which was probably the best technical wrestling match you've seen in the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, probably at least the best since the Benoit Jericho Austin Triple H tag match.
Good point.
Making their way into the studio, the tag team champions of Talk Radio, the Wrestling Guys.
Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB, the voice of the Sunday Corridor. I just like the music. I just wanted to hear the music. Let the music, bring us into the show as we get ready here on another Wednesday night to talk about everything in the world of professional wrestling. Running in here so fast, I've got my headphones on backwards. That's what kind of, there we go. Now see, you have to have the headphones in proper alignment if you want to do the show properly. Now we are set. Now we are ready to go. Welcome to the program. My name is Shawn Stidham. For the next 53 minutes, we are going to talk about everything in the world of professional wrestling, and then some. It wasn't bad enough that you had to allege that Kane had sex with a dead woman last Monday night. Now you had to actually give us somewhat of a visual. Granted, it was Triple H dressed as Kane. Granted, it was a mannequin, but it was still disgusting. And we will talk about that, and obviously a lot of you have some very, very strong opinions on this very, very sensitive subject, and we will talk about that a little bit later on. We also have stuff to give away tonight. We have a lot of things to cover, and we'll get right into it. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732, and let's go to the celebrity hotline. Who's this?
This is Bob Ryder.
How you doing, Bob?
I'm doing great. How's it going?
I'm doing fine. See, what we were trying to do to get on the air is I was trying to get in touch with Bob Ryder, and we finally, in the 11th hour, did it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How you guys?
Doing great. One thing, I want to bring you on first thing because obviously you can understand that over the next hour we're probably going to talk about a lot of very negative things given this last week. But I want to start off with something positive. We talk about ways to get positive publicity, and you guys are doing something I think is absolutely tremendous, and that is the auction that you can find out more about at NWATNA.com that is going to reward a number of charities.
I'm amazed at the response we've gotten. I guess I'm amazed. You tend to think that in this world we live in, people don't really care about helping other people, but we put this idea out, we threw it together, we put it up, and we've received in 2 days over $20,000 worth of bids. It's to raise money for 3 different charities, 3 very worthy charities. The primary charity is a fund that will go to try to be a reward fund for the sniper situation in Washington in that area. Also to aid autism. We're looking at adding other charities, but the reaction we've gotten from fans has been absolutely amazing. We've got some things up for bid that really are once-in-a-lifetime kind of opportunities to be behind the scenes, to actually be on camera in a pay-per-view setting, to get a chance to bid for the light heavyweight championship belt that Shawn had. It's been a tremendous experiment for us, and we're thrilled with the reaction we're getting from fans.
You know, that's one of the things, and I've been a part of some of these auctions before, working with the Pillman Show around here, and you have some very cool items, granted, Waltman's light heavyweight title belt and things like that, but you're also auctioning off some unique experiences. The opportunity to play golf with Kurt Hennig, the opportunity to go jet skiing with Jeff Jarrett, or to have dinner with Jerry Lynn or Scott Hall or B.G. James. It's some very, very unique things. It's really cool that the wrestlers and the staff of NWA TNA is also donating their personal time to something like this.
We started talking about it about a week ago, and then threw kind of some what-ifs together, and everybody that came into the discussion said, well, I want to help, and this is what I want to do, and then how about if we do this? And, you know, what started as a very simple idea to put 3 or 4 items up. I think now we've got 32 things that you can bid on. And like I said, there's some once-in-a-lifetime opportunities to do the things that you just mentioned, jet ski with Jeff Jarrett, and then to be on the pay-per-view, to be an announcer with Mike Tenay and Don West, to help Jeremy Borash as the ring announcer. I mean, there's just some amazing things. One of the things that's getting quite a bit of action is the chance to work behind the scenes for one of the shows in a creative capacity with Vince Russo. And that's something that has generated quite a bit of discussion and a lot of bids. So as I say, we're thrilled. We're very happy to be able to do something positive, and the reaction we've gotten from fans has been tremendous.
Bob Ryder from NWA TNA joining us on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Bob, let's look at tonight's lineup that you have Ron Killings and Kurt Hennig for the NWA title. Also, Scott Hall makes his return against Jeff Jarrett, and an X Division showdown between AJ Styles and Six Pac.
Those 3 matches. Then you've also got a tag title defense, Harrison Storm, who I think have turned into a very good, solid team against the High Shots. That's going to be interesting. You've got some traditional wrestling on the show tonight, and I know you mentioned earlier that you're going to be talking about a lot of negatives, and certainly after Monday night, we've heard a lot of negatives at OneWrestling.com, and also people here have been talking about it all day. It's hard not to talk about it. We're trying to be the alternative. We want to be the difference. We want to show people that wrestling's not a dirty word. You don't have to be ashamed to present a wrestling product on TV, and you don't have to do some of the sick and disgusting things that you'll be talking about in the next hour.
Bob,
to present that.
One of the things that we bring up here on the show, and obviously over the last few weeks and months, there have been things that the WWE has done that has been sick and disgusting. And one of the things we try to tell people is when they call and say, well, I'm done watching wrestling, that shouldn't be the attitude, because like NWA TNA, you guys have a different product. There are a number of independents out there, whether it be 3PW, whether it be the HWA, whether it be Combat Zone, whoever it is, OCW.
Ring of Honor. There's,
absolutely.
And the last few weeks, I've had the chance to see a lot of local shows in the Tennessee area. And I went to one last Friday and then another one Saturday night. And they're small shows, granted, but it's fun. It's wrestling the way it was when I grew up. It's seeing guys go out. There's a good guy. There's a bad guy. The audience hates the referee. I mean, it's the old-time wrestling. And that's not anything anybody should be ashamed to be a fan of. Now, we're going to try to put a product in TNA in front of people that kind of has the best of both worlds. Some of the traditional style, but also some of the more cutting-edge stuff. We want to try to be able to give a product to people that won't be offensive. And we've been guilty, quite frankly, of maybe trying to go a little bit too far once or twice in the last few months. And we've done some things that we've pulled back on. But we've come to the conclusion that we want to be an alternative. We want to present something to fans, the tradition of the NWA, the old-time wrestling that really, fans have loved forever. Wrestling is a soap opera. It's okay to have storylines, but you don't have to go quite as far as we saw on Monday night.
Yeah, of course, most people know that you are a co-owner with OneWrestling.com, and of course working behind the scenes with NWA TNA. I know that in my radio show here in Hotline, that you become lumped into what the WWE does. When you say you do a wrestling show or that you run a wrestling website, that all of a sudden they go, oh, you cover that?
Yeah.
And they lump you in together. It's guilt by association.
It's tough now that WCW and ECW have really disappeared, that, the only thing that people identify wrestling with right now is the WWE. And that's because they're the monster, they're the big guys, they're really the only game in town, and we're trying to change that. And we've taken baby steps, and we're trying to get the thing up and running, and we've had some good success, and we've had some problems. But we're in it for the long haul here at TNA. We've taken the steps needed to make sure that we're going to survive, and we've got what we think is a product that once people give it a chance and they listen to it and watch it and see what we're all about, you'll be able to see some of the same kinds of stars that you saw on WCW for so long. And in ECW, we've got Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall and B.G. James and Jeff Jarrett. I mean, we've got Shawn Lawman. We've got people that have the name recognition and the notoriety, but we've added in people like AJ Styles, who is, in my mind, one of the most talented people that you'll ever want to see in a wrestling ring. We've got Jerry Lynn, who is getting a chance to really become a star all on his own after being held down for his entire career. We've got Low Key, who's a unique individual that has a style that really you won't see anywhere else. And we've got the X Division that is, I think, the most unique and innovative thing to come along in a long, long time. It's giving guys a chance to show that they can work a style that is exciting, that is going to keep people excited throughout the entire show, and you don't have to worry about them being presented in an opening match format to set up something later in the show and then be forgotten about. They have a chance to be in the main events. Nobody in our company is more important than the next guy, and everybody's getting an equal opportunity here. So we're having a great time doing it, and hopefully the fans that are watching it are enjoying it. We know that we could do better. We're trying to do better, and we hope that people will give us a chance and see that we are an alternative to the stuff that they showed on Monday night.
And again, Scott Hall is at the show tonight. That's all been taken care of, right?
He was here early, and the Scott Hall absence was blown out of proportion. We were in complete agreement with him. We understood it was a family issue. It was not in any way related to anything that would be considered a scandal or a problem or a personal issue. It was something dealing with his family, and he wanted to take care of it, and we fully supported him, and that has been taken care of, and he's here tonight. We expect him to be a part of TNA for quite some time, and he could not be any more professional than he's been. He gets here early, he goes out and works with the young guys. He's been great to be around, and everybody's real happy he's here.
I won't put you on the spot to name names, but there are rumors circulating that some familiar faces could show up on NWA TNA for the first time tonight. True?
I don't think I should.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'll let you off the hook right now. But before you go,
let's just say that some familiar names will be appearing soon. Maybe not tonight, but in the near future.
Some above-average names. Real quick, NWATNA.com again. The website.
Maybe some other names too. Maybe an Easy Money or two.
I mean, it'd be very easy to see that. Yes.
Yes.
NWATNA.com. The website. 32 separate items you can bid on, some very unique experiences, all going to some great charities. And again, I think you made the comment, hopefully we won't need to donate to the reward fund for the Washington Sniper, but even if we have to, there's some other great charities there too.
Yeah, and we're going to do our best to make sure that money is spread out and places that it's needed, and the Sniper situation is resolved.
All right, Bob, I appreciate it. I know you guys are got about an hour and 45 minutes away, so get busy, and I'll watch you tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Bob Ryder from NWA TNA and OneWrestling.com checking in with us. And again, I know that we're going to talk about some very negative things here over the next, for the rest of the show up till 7 o'clock. But again, a great, just a phenomenal effort there, and donation of time and product, and for the NWA Total Nonstop Action, NWATNA.com, donating all these different experiences. Dinner with Scott Hall. That is going to be worth... I wonder if is alcohol included? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, your phone calls, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. It's a toll-free call. More when we come back on The Wrestling Guys on the voice of the Sunday Corridor, AM 910, WPFB.
Print a picture with any upset.
Try and find alternatives.
All right. Hey, how'd they do in the ratings?
Who?
Raw.
Raw this last Monday did a 3.7 rating, which is down from the previous week's 3.8. So it's not off that much, but what's a little bit surprising is normally you have an increase after a pay-per-view because people want to see what you're moving on to. In this case, not only did you not get the increase in the ratings, the rating went down, and we'll have to wait and see what next Monday's rating looks like to see if people are actually turning the show off because of what they saw this last Monday.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate the phone call. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-9732. It is a toll-free call. And let me say one thing. I'm not anti-WWE. I like the WWE on a lot of levels. They have amazing talent, and they've done an amazing job overall over the last few years, well, ever since they've been in existence. But the thing we're seeing on Monday night, where you have Triple H dressed as Kane, pretending to have, and granted, we all know it was supposed to be a comedy-type bit. It was supposed to be a over-the-top, sick humor type of thing. Let me say one thing. I love sick humor to a degree. I'm a fan of South Park. I like the Howard Stern show. There's things I enjoy like that. I can take a cruel joke or a sick joke as much as anybody. Maybe that's a personal flaw. I don't know. But what we saw Monday night was not only tasteless. I don't think it has any place in wrestling. I also just thought it wasn't funny. It wasn't entertaining. There's nothing, I think, about necrophilia that can be entertaining. Nothing. And if you find it entertaining, good for you. You're sick. I don't know. Nothing about it struck me as entertaining. And the other thing, too, is this. On Sunday night at the pay-per-view, you had Triple H squash Kane. That should have been the end of it. You move on. You have Triple H go to another challenger, whether that be Booker T, whether that be another feud with Rob Van Dam. Instead, on Monday night, you have Kane back out there. And the other problem with this is Kane never responds in a way that you think that somebody who's being accused of doing something so heinous or somebody who's being ridiculed in such a way would react. Think about it. Let's pretend it's all real. And you're Kane. Caller is Andy. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. What's up?
Hey, how are you doing, Shawn?
Andrew, what's up? Andy the Hate Man, coming back from the dead. What's up?
It's been a while.
It has been.
I just had a few comments about this Monday.
Okay.
I haven't been watching like it used to because I work a lot, and I'm usually on call at night. So, but anyway, I just thought the funniest part about the whole night was Triple H getting locked in the bed in the trunk of the car, and then the trunk being the car pulled away.
It kind of puts the cherry on top of the cake to summarize the entire night, didn't it?
Well, yeah, my thought about it was, pardon the pun, but it puts the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, no pun intended, I'm sure. And, one thing I thought also that was a great reflection of what the WWE is like right now is this last Sunday's pay-per-view. If you looked at the matches from top to bottom, the SmackDown side of the pay-per-view was tremendous. You had some Match of the Year candidates with the Hell in a Cell between Brock Lesnar and The Undertaker. You had the tag team finals of the SmackDown side. You also had a great cruiserweight match with Jamie Noble. And it was great. On the Raw side, there was nothing that stood out.
Making their way into the studio, the tag team champions of Talk Radio, the Wrestling Guys.
Good evening. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys. It's another Wednesday night. My name is Shawn Stidham. Thank you for joining us. Our toll-free number, 866-910. WPFB, toll-free nationwide if you want to hop on board. Scheduled to join me a little bit later on tonight around the 6:30 portion of the program, Ricky Morton. Of course, you know that name from the Rock and Roll Express, legendary tag team, and so much of a legend that he has been put onto the new Legends of Wrestling video game, which came out today from our good friends at Acclaim. I have my copy right here, and we'll talk to him about that, plus a little bit, find out what's going on in his life and his current take on a lot of things going on in the wrestling world. Again, Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express joining us a little bit later on this hour. Again, toll-free, 866-910. WPFB. Let's go ahead and get into the news. Not a happy day down in Cincinnati at the Heartland Wrestling Association. We've known for some time that the World Wrestling Federation was going to be making some cutbacks in the developmental program. We've had Les Thatcher on the program. We've talked about it being like a minor league system where at some point there are going to be some cuts made. A lot of it due just simply to financial reasons. When you have so many wrestlers, there's not enough spots for a lot of these guys. So a lot of this shouldn't be attributed to these guys not being good enough to be in the World Wrestling Federation, but simply at this time, there's not something for them down the road. Quite possibly, they'll be back maybe in the HWA, maybe in the WWF. Certainly, all of these guys are going to land on their feet somewhere. Thankfully, there is the likelihood now of the XWF. You also have the other promotions across the ocean, the WWA, which are up and running. So a lot of these guys are going to find work. On the list, apparently, that has been cut include Jimmy Yang, Reno, Lash LaRue, Kwee-Wee, Evan Courageous, Russ McCullough, Kid Romeo, and Elix Skipper. Those are the names that are on the internet right now. and we have got some of those confirmed. Again, Yang, Reno, Lash LaRue, Kiwi, Evan Courageous, Russ McCullough, Kid Romeo, Neelix Skipper. But all of those guys, tremendous talent, and they are all going to find work very, very soon. And we would, of course, wish them nothing but the best. But again, tough day down in Cincinnati for a lot of people. Other news to get into, Raw this past Monday drew a 4.2 rating. And kind of interesting because we saw a huge increase in the Raw rating immediately following the Survivor Series. And now it's kind of leveled off. And you got to wonder how much of that may be attributed to the fact that people are just tuning in to find out what the returns of Ric Flair and Jerry Lawler and what the all fallout was going to be from the Survivor Series, what that was going to be like, and how many of those people maybe were turned off after seeing the actions of Vince McMahon forcing JR and having William Regal kiss his posterior. Certainly wasn't something that we enjoyed watching, and we've debated that quite a bit here on this show and on the Wrestling Guys hotline at 937-285-0991. You got to slide that in there. But, you just got to wonder how many of those people maybe would have turned around and stuck with Raw, because certainly there's a number of wrestling fans that are on the borderline that could take it or leave it. And if you do things that show them that they could find better entertainment elsewhere by leaving it, and certainly having Vince McMahon display a 54-year-old posterior on TV, I think a lot of people found there are better things to do rather than watch that. Across the way in England, the WWE is up and running and active, and Scott Steiner made his return to wrestling over the weekend. Scott Steiner, his first match in about 9 months, got involved in a three-way dance with Jeff Jarrett and the Road Dogg for the WWA Championship. During the match, Brian Christopher, a.k.a. Grandmaster Sexay, the son of Jerry the King Lawler, he came out, got involved in the match with Scott Steiner. They ended up brawling back to the dressing room, leaving Jeff Jarrett and the Road Dogg. Jarrett gets the victory after nailing the Road Dogg with a guitar shot. Bret Hart comes down after the match, puts Jeff Jarrett into the sharpshooter. Don't think Bret Hart's going to make a return to wrestling full-time, but if he can get in there, do a couple of bumps, and make the fans go home happy, he'll do that. Now, the WWE is planning on having a pay-per-view January the 6th. It's going to feature highlights of their first tour internationally, which was in Australia back in the summer, which also features Jerry the King Lawler, a tournament for the WWA title. Some of the wrestlers you'll see will include Conan, Disco Inferno, Jeff Jarrett, Jerry the King Lawler, Bret the Hitman Hart, the Road Dogg, Jesse James. All of those and many more on the WWA show. And again, the pay-per-view is going to be on January the 6th. And yes, Virginia, you will be able to watch that on DirecTV. Chris Jericho and Bill Goldberg could never get into the ring because WCW just didn't want that to happen, but they're going to get on the ice. Well, at least Jericho is. Goldberg's going to be an assistant coach at the NHL All-Star Celebrity Challenge. That's going to be on January 30th. Proceeds will benefit Hockey's All-Star Kids and Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, all for a good cause. Again, January 30th. You know one thing, Goldberg, for a guy that really has not been around for a year, continues to draw amazing mainstream media attention. Here you've got him involved at the NHL Celebrity All-Star Challenge. You've also got him doing various interviews, got another book coming out. And this is a guy that has 2 more years left on a deal that's going to pay him $1.9 million a year not to wrestle. You got to think that maybe in a couple of years, now granted, he might save his money very well, and he may not want to have anything to do with wrestling ever again, but in a couple of years, if he continues to keep his name out there, he's going to be a very desirable free agent. And who knows what the landscape is going to be, whether or not the World Wrestling Federation is really going to be the only game in town. Maybe the WWE will be up and running and active and have something to say. Maybe it will be somebody else. But it'll be very interesting to see what the situation will be with Bill Goldberg in a couple of years. The Rock is going to be doing some more filming for the Scorpion King, although it's not expected to take him out of the ring for the World Wrestling Federation for too much time. The Rock is scheduled to do some reshoots next month. Scorpion King is due out in theaters in April of next year. Kevin Nash says the only time you might be able to see him in the ring is going to be this Sunday, but it's not going to be on a pay-per-view. It's going to be on the TV show Nikki, which airs on UPN at 8:30. Nash plays himself, and he says it's a great show and good comedy, which might suggest that Kevin Nash isn't off the bottle as much as we thought he was. Also, apparently, the WWC is the latest organization interested in bringing in Hulk Hogan. They're trying to bring him in for a show on January the 6th. Hogan most recently was involved with the XWF, although he is not expected to have anything else to do with that organization. Speaking of the XWF, they have finally announced a listing for house shows, and they have house shows coming up on December the 28th in Hammond, Indiana, December the 29th in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They also have another show set up in the Chicago area on the 30th. If you're interested about that show, and it's only like, about a 4 or 5 hour drive. If you want to head up there for those shows, You can get more information at Ticketmaster.com. Just do a search for XWF Wrestling, and you'll find it all right there to your heart's content. Our toll-free number again is 866-910-WPFB. We'll take your phone calls and a lot more when we come back. This is The Wrestling Guys on the station that's a part of your life, AM 910 WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis.
Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. I'm Shawn Stidham. Our toll-free number again is 866-910-WPFB. Email address, thewrestlingguys@AOL.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear the latest wrestling news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can call the Wrestling Guys hotline at 937-285-0991. Preview of SmackDown tomorrow night includes a 6-man tag team match with the Dudley Boys and William Regal taking on the Big Show. Also tomorrow night, you'll find out exactly what The Rock forces Vince McMahon to kiss. You saw Raw, you know what I'm talking about. Rob Van Dam defends the WWF Hardcore title against Matt Hardy. Matt and Jeff, don't forget, will be battling this Sunday at Vengeance with Lita as the special guest referee, and Lita apparently telling some people she's going to shake up her look a little bit. We'll find out what she has in store for this Sunday. Also, another tag team match on SmackDown with Scotty Hugh Hottie and Albert taking on Test and Christian. Also, Jacqueline takes on Crash in an intergender match. Also, The Undertaker, who makes his return to WWF. He missed the house shows over the weekend and Raw this past week for a family emergency. He takes on Bradshaw. And your main event for SmackDown includes The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin teaming up together to battle Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle. Kind of interesting that going into the pay-per-view this Sunday, which features Stone Cold Steve Austin against Kurt Angle and The Rock versus Y2J, then the winners of those two matches will meet in the main event to unify the WWF and the World Championships. It's going to be kind of interesting to see what they have in store because, let's face it, on Raw and on SmackDown, they've jobbed out Jericho and Angle, and now they're expecting these guys to have some credibility going into the pay-per-view. Toll-free number again, 866-910-WPFB. Let's take our first call tonight. Welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
Hey, how you doing, Shawn?
I'm doing fine, Andy. Yourself?
Doing all right. It's been a while since I've been on here.
I know. Where you been?
Got 3 quick things to get into real quick.
3 quick things.
Okay, first off, I want to say hey to Dana, Shawn, you know Dana very well.
Dana, Donato's guy now, I think, yeah.
Actually, Cassano's.
Okay, sorry about that.
So I work with Dana now, so just want to give him a big shout out.
Sounds good.
Also want to tell everybody to start putting your votes in for me as the caller. Which should be coming up. We are in December now, so.
And what else?
And I also wanted to ask what you think is going to happen with the main event on the pay-per-view. Who do you think will win the unified title?
Well, you know, what I was just talking about was the fact that on Raw and on SmackDown, they jobbed out Jericho and Angle. So they've kind of taken away their heat going into the pay-per-view. Depending on what they're planning on doing in that main event, because right now we hear that starting next month they're going to split off the WWF roster. Linda McMahon has made it very clear that the World Wrestling Federation still plans on having 2 separate organizations, but now they're both going to carry the WWF name. They're just going to be 2 separate leagues, much like you have the National League and American League in baseball. You'll have, and the names haven't been discussed yet, but for lack of a better, term, you'll have WWF North and WWF South. And they'll each have their own separate championships. So, whether or not they're going to keep 2 separate championships or in fact they're going to unify and have maybe one WWF champion and then you'll have an Intercontinental League and a U.S. League. I don't know. Nobody knows. I can't see them having the way they're building up this unification match, it would deprive the fans if it's not The Rock and Austin. I'm not saying those two could put on the best match, or they will certainly be entertaining, but those are the 2 biggest names. And if you're making this the most historic match in the history of wrestling, your 2 biggest names need to be in there, and I think it needs to be Rock and Austin.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that, and I also think out of the 4, Austin is the only one who never has held the WCW title, so I'm looking at him maybe to win that, and that way all the people in the match would have held the WCW title.
Well, here's the other thing to keep in mind too, Andy. The one thing that Vince McMahon's going to have a problem with is making sure one league doesn't appear to be weaker than the other league. The speculation is Rock's going to be in one league, Austin's going to be in the other. Whoever the loser is, he's going to be perceived as weaker.
Yeah.
So I would guess that Sunday is not going to find a decisive finish. I wouldn't be surprised to see Triple H make his return. He's kind of seeing the promos, have you forgotten about me, and kind of the brooding style of Triple H. I wouldn't be surprised to see Triple H run in with his sledgehammer, nail both the guys, have a double count out, and the titles are not unified.
Now, what do you think they're going to split the leagues up? Do you think they may bring in... Here's my idea. They either bring in the TV title back or they get rid of the European title.
Again, everything right now is up in the air. I could see them having, if you have a WWF North, which would have the Intercontinental title, a Hardcore title, and a European title, and then, in the WWF South, you have maybe a U.S. champion and, maybe a television champion or something like that. I still think you would have too many championships. I would rather see it where you have maybe one champion over both leagues, and then you have two secondary titles, an Intercontinental title and a U.S. title, and then, one tag team champion, and that's it. Mick Foley hit it right on the head. There's too many championships. You deprive the value of the title, and I just don't see them unifying the belts this Sunday. I think it would cause too many problems with trying to split the organization, the two separate leagues come January.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
Okay.
All right, thanks, man.
Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Again, toll-free number if you want to hop on board is 866-910-WPFB. Want to mention a couple things. First of all, 1 week from tonight, we're expecting to be broadcasting live from the Montgomery County Fairgrounds Coliseum as the Heartland Wrestling Association has another live event there. If you want details, go to hwaonline.com. Tickets are still available. The show is shaping up to be very good. A grudge match main event rematch with D'Lo Brown battling Easy Money for the HWA heavyweight title. Also, Rikishi is going to be on the show in a six-man tag match with his family, the Island Boys, and plus you've got guys like Val Venus and Steve Blackman and so many others on the show, and you can go to hwaonline.com. Also, a big show coming up this Saturday in Yellow Springs at the John Bryan Community Center, always for a good cause, as OCW presents their show for Project Christmas Smiles. Dr. Creep, you know that name in this area, legendary television personality. He is the guy behind Project Christmas Smiles. They are having a tough time this year, as a number of charities are, with the events of September 11th. So many people have been donating to the September 11th charities and the Red Cross, and certainly we need to support those charities, but also a number of other people like the United Way, Project Christmas Smiles. They're having a tough time this holiday season. OCW always puts on this show. Tickets are $10 at the door. If you bring a new toy, it's $5. Plus, there'll be a number of things. We're going to donate some things for a raffle and the matches. You can find out more by calling the OCW Wild Line at 937-640-2691 or their main option at 937-229-8189. Also available on the internet at outlawchampionshipwrestling.com. And also, the voice of OCW, Wildman Dave Diamond, claims that he is retiring after this Saturday, and we all know how retirements are in the world of professional wrestling. But he claims this one's for good. So we'll just have to wait and see. Maybe we can, bring that up if he ever tries to come back. Dave, no, you retired. Maybe we can keep him out that way. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, if you want to find out more, it's going to be a great show. Again, it's at the John Bryan Community Center on Saturday. Bell time, 7:30, somewhere around there. But get there early. We have the raffle. It's going to be a good time again, as always. And just a lot of fun. And again, it's for a great cause. And can't wait to be a part of it this Saturday. Toll-free number again is 937. That's a hotline number. Hello. Toll-free number here is 866-910-WPFB. Coming up in about 5 minutes, we're going to talk to Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express and find out what he's up to. Plus, the Legends of Wrestling video game came out today, and we talked last week to Brian Simmons from Acclaim, and a lot of people talking about this game. It's got a number of guys who you never thought maybe you would see in a video game. Guys like George the Animal Steele and Ivan Putski and Don Morocco and all the Von Erichs are in it. But then you've got some major names like Hulk Hogan, Rob Van Dam, Bret Hart, the Road Warriors, Jerry the King Lawler, Jimmy Superfly Snuka. They're all in the game. It's got to create a legend mode. Captain Lou Albano, Jimmy the Mouth of the South Hart's in the game. Very, very entertaining. It's available for the PlayStation 2. Also coming out next year for the GameCube and the Xbox. And as we get closer to Christmas, you know we're going to take care of you. We're going to be giving away copies of this also. And can't wait for that. We're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Ricky Morton, plus a whole lot more. This is The Wrestling Guys on the station at the part of your life, AM 910, WPFB.
Miami Red Hawk basket.
You're listening to The Wrestling Guys on AM 910, WPFB.
We'll be talking to Ricky Morton in just a moment. I want to pass along a couple stories to you. I mentioned earlier that the WWA is over in England right now. And while over there, they had an appearance on a British morning show called Big Breakfast. Very, very popular show. Brian Christopher, Grandmaster Sexay, accidentally said something on the air he shouldn't have said. And it's not something we can repeat here since this is also a family show, but he had to be admonished a little bit by the British for just not really thinking when he should have. You kind of get where I'm getting with that. All right, thank you very much. Also, Sad news as Ed Whalen, longtime announcer for Stampede Wrestling, passed away yesterday at the age of 74. Whalen, probably more familiar with a lot of the wrestling fans that watch Stampede than some of the wrestlers who were a longtime voice of that organization. He was vacationing in Florida, suffered a heart attack over the weekend, never came out of a coma, and passed away yesterday. Obviously, we want to send our condolences to his friends and family. Toll free again, 866-910-WPFB. When we come back, we'll talk to Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express. We'll get the latest on the news and a lot more. This is the Wrestling Guys on 910 WPFB. Back here on the Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. Ricky Morton's going to check in with us in just a minute. Want to remind you again, the Wrestling Guys hotline available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by calling 937-285-0991. You know, you don't got to pay $2 a minute. Just go ahead, call it up. You get the latest news. You can ask your questions. We try and answer some of those for you every day. Again, the Wrestling Guys hotline at 937-285-0991. And also, if you can't get your answer there, you can always email us, thewrestlingguys@AOL.com. And also, don't forget, Tuesday mornings in our sister station, 105.9 The Rebel. We have the Rebel Ringside Report every Tuesday morning with Dan D and Madison T. We always give away a few prizes, get you up to date on all the latest wrestling news and a lot more on the Rebel Ringside Report, 7:20 every Tuesday. Again, on our sister station, 105.9 The Rebel. Quick programming note, high school basketball will be on AM 910 this weekend. On Friday, the Middletown Middies will hit the road to battle with Fairfield Indians. And on Saturday, they once again are on the road to battle with Milford Eagles. You can catch all of the action with the old coach Jack Gordon right here on AM 910 WPFB. See, this is a problem with wrestlers and getting them in on time. I just called Ricky. He goes, yep, getting ready to call you. And just kind of, you know, wrestlers sometimes have a tough time with being on time. Little known fact. Here we go. Ricky Morton, welcome to the Wrestling Guys.
How you doing, man?
I'm just fine. We were just talking about wrestlers being on time, and you just made me a liar.
Oh, I did?
You did. I said, you know, it's a little known fact. Sometimes wrestlers have a tough time being on time.
Oh.
And then here you are. Let's say, I guess, you know, I got 6:34. You could have 6:30. I've always been something a little bit off anyway, so.
Well, you know, I'm not Big Ben anyway, so what the hell.
Ricky Morton joining us from the Rock and Roll Express. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, dude.
You're always...
Weather down here in Bristol, Tennessee, changed, and just home with the family, doing great.
Yeah, that's good. One of the reasons we wanted to bring you on is last week we talked to Brian Simmons from Acclaim and the Legends of Wrestling video game, and they have put you in this game, so you are now officially a legend of wrestling. How's that feel?
Well, it's about time, don't you think?
Yeah, you don't have to be modest at all, you know.
They're the only ones that consider that, I guess.
There you go. But pretty cool video game. First time I think you've been included in a video game, right?
You know what? After all these years, Robert and I, either one, we had to do video games. That made these action figures of us. It's the first time for anything like this.
And it's pretty cool because, you know, we won't get into the details, but obviously you get some royalties, so they pay to call you a legend. That's not bad.
Well, something finally paid off. Man.
Now, have you actually played the game yet? I mean,
you know what, dude? I haven't. I think they just come out this weekend.
I got my copy here.
And well, I haven't got a copy yet. I'm fixing to get one. But
how do I get a copy before you?
I don't know.
That doesn't seem fair.
No, I talked to Brian. He's sending me some of them. But you know, you got to understand this right here. It comes, you know, to the what is it, PlayStation 2?
Yeah, PlayStation 2.
You know, I got a $4,500 computer. All I know on it is how to turn it on and off. So, you know.
But your kids will be into this.
Oh, yeah.
Your kids will love it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I know it. My kids do. But, you know, that's all my kids have been talking about for the last month or so. When's that PlayStation game going to come out?
Now, are your kids going to play as you, or are they going to play as somebody else and try to beat Dad up a little bit?
Well, in normal life, they always try to beat Dad up, so I don't think nothing's going to change with the video game. What do you think?
I don't think so. You know, you and Robert are featured in the commercial a little bit, the footage of you guys in the ring with...
commercial starts next Monday night?
Yeah, absolutely.
And WWF?
Yeah, great roster in the game with Hulk Hogan and Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lawler and the Road Warriors and the Iron Sheik.
Well, cool, man. I can't wait to see it. You know?
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity for Robert and I. You know, we still... Robert and I are still partners after all these years, in case anybody out there wondering. We still wrestle together. Still doing good, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you know, the one thing is I see you all the time popping up on the independent scene, and everybody says that, you know, at the end of the night, you are still putting on the best match of the night.
Well, I really appreciate that. You know, it's all I know is professional wrestling. You know, I've been in it all my life. You know, it's a shame because of the way wrestling has changed over the years. But, you know, you got to understand, I'm still what you call old school. I still believe in giving people their money's worth. I still believe in giving them the opportunity to meet the Rock and Roll Express, especially if they pay their money to see us. We spend time with them, and when it comes to the ring, I make sure that when they go home, they're still talking about the Rock and Roll Express.
And people have been talking about you guys for what now? 15 years? 16 years?
Robert and I have been partners for 19 years.
19. How did it all get started?
Out of Memphis, Tennessee, Jimmy Hart and Jerry Lawler put us together in Memphis, Tennessee back in 1982, 83, right that area. It's been 19 years or so. But at the time, they had a group there called the Fabulous Ones. Remember them?
Yes, Stan Lane, Steve Kearney.
Yeah, and they were looking for another young babyface team at the time. And Robert and I, we was looking for something to put together. It was hard, you know. You had Ricky, Robert, R&R. You know, we'll call ourselves R&R Express. Bye-bye. We got to look at these magazines and you know, and between Lawler and Jimmy Hart, which Jimmy Hart, you know, is rock and roll heavy. You know, he's Jimmy Hart, the Gentry.
Yep.
And you know, how about the Rock and Roll Express? And it's crazy because, you know, I tell you, that we first came back into Memphis to do this gimmick, and we didn't know what to do. We didn't know what to wear. So at the Mid-South Coliseum, which the show was on a Sunday afternoon at the time, they had a flea market across the street. And Robert and I and Jerry Lawler walked over there, and buddy, we bought bandanas and feathers, and Lawler fixed us up, and they played our music, because they didn't say, they just said the Rock and Roll Express is going to be here.
Right.
And Robert and I came out, you know, it was instantly over, but after being, you know, wearing the short tights and the boots, it was a change. I was kind of embarrassed to walk out the door. But when it was all over and done with, we come back, and this one guy looked at me and said, "Damn, man," said, "I didn't know whether y'all was Indians or Gypsies." But you know what? It instantly got over.
And you had an amazing run, because in the mid-'80s, '86 especially, with the Great American Bash, you had your single feud with Ric Flair. You had they had you cut the single Rock and Roll Boogie Woogie. Was that what?
Oh yeah. You know what? Not even be a singer or anything. I had $1 million seller. I mean, $1 million record seller. You know.
I mean, you were, by all accounts, a teen idol.
Well, in those days, I sure was. You know, I won. I don't know how I got this sexiest wrestler in the world. I don't know how I got that. But you got to understand, it was a lot of hard work. And plus, you got to understand, back then, the business is different. You know, these days, these guys sign these $1 million contracts, and they really don't even care about the guys they wrestle with. They don't care about the promotion. All they care is what's going to be good for them.
Right.
But see, understand, back then, it was a team. It was a team play. You know what I'm saying? You was only as good as your opponents let you be. You know what I'm saying? It was all a part about making money, making a living. But understand, so things have changed now. You know, back then everybody cared about everybody. When you work with somebody, you made it work because all you had was each other to depend on.
Right.
See, that's what makes the business different nowadays. These guys don't give a darn about what's going to happen next week. You know what I'm saying? Because they get their check no matter what.
Ricky Morton joining us from the Rock and Roll Express. We have a phone call on the line. Bud Rowe, welcome to the Wrestling Guys. You're talking to Ricky Morton.
Have no fear, Bud Rowe is here. What's up?
Cool. What's up, Bud?
Hey, what's going on?
How's up there, Bud?
Now a legend of wrestling. Now that you're a video game icon, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so now you have the acknowledgement of being called one of the greatest tag teams of all time.
Well,
correct.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate that. That's a compliment. If you're saying that to me, I really appreciate that.
Right. My question is, do you see any tag team out there that is capable of being as star caliber as the Rock and Roll Express was, or do you see just the same old tag teams, or what?
No, I gotta say, I see one tag team that really, I think that's the Hardy Boys from WWF.
And they're often compared to being the Rock and Roll Express of the 21st century.
Well, I see these guys on TV with some brothers, but you gotta understand, it's hard being a tag team wrestler because, you're with each other every day. It's like being married to one another. Everybody has their own personality. But these guys here are brothers, and they do an excellent job in the ring, working as a tag team, not as individuals. That's what impressed me about these guys.
Let me ask you something about the Hardy Boys, because with Jeff Hardy, a lot of people say the guy takes so many risks, they don't see him having a long career. certainly, you know, you are still active. You've been wrestling now over 20 years.
Yeah.
Do you think that, you know, he's going to have to modify his style a little bit and cut down on some of the high-flying moves?
Well, let me tell you this. As time goes on, he will cut down. I know, you know, but waking up in the morning, you know, when I was his age, too, with the people, when we first started the Rock and Roll Express, you got to understand, you know, but the guys going to the tables, you know, being Randy Savage and I, when Robert died his angles, Randy Savage and Lanny Poffo, Memphis, Tennessee, you know, we was going to the tables. We were the first ones to ever go to the tables. First ones, you know, doing the scaffold matches and stuff. And after, you know, a little time that's going on, it's like hangovers hurt more than they used to.
Right.
You know, you understand. Yeah, you slow down, buddy. You know, after not, when you wake up in the morning, you can't get out of bed. You know, you can't walk around. You know, you dread sometimes even wrestling because you can't move. See, you got to understand, back then, it wasn't like it is today. You know, these guys nowadays, they get hurt, they don't even perform. You know, which we wrestled every night back then. A lot of times we was in the same town week after week. And you can't go out there and tell the people right when you're in the middle of a big angle, oh, Ricky Morton sprained his ankle, you're not going to wrestle right.
Yeah, and one thing I think a lot of people nowadays really don't realize, a lot of the guys on the independent circuit that wrestle maybe once, twice a week, you wrestled as many times in a week, and maybe a month, as these guys sometimes do in an entire year.
Well, you know, back when Robert was out having a big run in NWA out of Charlotte, we wrestled 2 years. Now, I'm telling you, 2 years, that's every night, and twice Saturdays and Sundays without a day off. For 2 years.
Wow.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We're talking to Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express. During that run in Charlotte, there was a lot of consideration because so many guys left to go to the World Wrestling Federation. Tully and Arn did. You know, so many Ric Flair did. Was there ever an offer to you and Robert to go to the Rock and Roll, to go to the WWF? And if so, why didn't you take it?
Well, no. We never did talk to it. We were.
I know Jim Cornette did.
Yeah, Jim Cornette did. No, you know, I've worked for Vince a couple of times.
Right.
Since then. But no, Robert and I, you know, it's a lot of, wrestling's a lot different from up north and down south. And at the time it was anyway. We was never interested in just going up there. I liked where I was at. You know, I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I didn't want to go, you know, work out of Connecticut somewhere, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it never did come to me that way.
You were comfortable where you were, you were making good money, why leave?
Yeah, that's why I leave. You know, why go anywhere? You know, and it's like nowadays, you know, Robert and I still wrestle independence, you know, and I'm happy doing that. You know what I'm saying? There's going to come a time where I like to quit. But right now, I just enjoy doing my independent wrestling. There's no pressure on you. And that's what that means a lot to me. You know, a lot of pressure on you. It affects your family life, everything else.
You talk about, you know, somewhere down the road, you know you're going to have to hang up the booth.
Yeah.
Have you given any thoughts of what maybe you'll do afterwards? Would you like to do something like Les Thatcher or what Jim Cornette does and working with young talent?
I would like, you know, I'm talking to Jimmy Hart like we're trying to. You know, I like to be like an agent or something.
Road agent.
Yeah, and plus I got a lot, you know, off these guys. You know, wrestling's changed, but it's going to have to go back to mean something again before too long.
Right.
Because it's getting lost in the soap opera thing, and but really they're not even telling stories. You know, it's just from week to week. To teach some of these guys the real basic part about wrestling, about learning how to work. And I would love to have a job doing something like, especially, you know, your junior heavyweights they got coming.
The XWF, and it looks like that maybe that's really going to take off, maybe the WWA overseas, so maybe, you know, hopefully there's something for you there.
Well, yeah, you know, they're trying to get everything together now, and, you know, I got to hand it to you. You know, I don't want, I'm the kind of guy that I don't want somebody to give me nothing. You understand?
Right.
Well, here, I'm just going to give you this. No, I don't want that. You know, it's like if I had a job with WWF, you know, being an agent or being something like that. I don't want them to say, well, here you go. No, I want them to deserve what I do. I want them to recognize what I'm doing is good.
Right.
I don't want nobody else's job. You know, I know a little bit about this business. You know, I've been in it all my life. You know, like especially in the independent circus, I work for a guy named Ben Throckmorton over on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have our own little TV. we get our own storylines, of which I do a lot of them. And don't get me wrong, we don't sell out Coliseum, you understand?
Right.
But we draw 400 or 500 people every time we run.
And you feel good at the end of the night with what you've done?
Yes, and let me tell you, that's excellent business, you know, for an organization like we got. You got to understand that's excellent business. Now, don't get me wrong, we're not on all the major stations. You know, we're on like a cable station, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, and we're doing good business. And of course, I went back to the storyline. At least we do have kayfabe in our and they understand that. And the people that we are drawing, they're, you know what, they appreciate it. They do, you know. They keep coming out to see us, so it's great, you know.
Do you think right now, especially in the World Wrestling Federation, there's too much winking at the fans and, you know, kind of saying, yeah, we know this is all a show, we know this is all...
Well, you know, you got to understand. You can't insult people's intelligence, you know what I'm saying?
Right, I understand.
But there's a point that they can't insult yours either, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, because, you know, they're going to tell you, you know, wrestling is not fake. I don't care what anybody says. Wrestling is a business. And you can ask all these wrestlers, like I'm telling you, you know, if you don't believe me, ask Captain Jack, for instance. You know, wrestling's not fake. Look, you can him walk. You know, it hurts. We get paid for getting hurt.
Right.
Get paid, you know, we might know what we're doing. You know, the best thing I ever seen in my life, I was watching, what is it, All in the Family, Archie Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy on there they call Meathead.
Yep.
Remember, he come home one night, and Archie's watching wrestling on TV. And he asked us, why are you watching that show for? They know who's going to win. And Archie turned around and looked at him and said, let me tell you something. They might know who's going to win, but I don't. All right?
Right. But what I'm getting at, though, is I remember back in the mid-'80s, standing there in the Cincinnati Gardens, watching you get beat up by Ric Flair, by Stan Lane, Bobby Eaton, and I remember seeing 15, 16-year-old girls crying because you're their idol and they're watching you get beat up and they can't take it. But nowadays, how many times can you look at the fans and say, you know what, yeah, this is a show, yeah, this is all make-believe, and still expect them to have the same feelings and care as much about the characters, knowing that, yeah, they're really not getting hurt.
Okay, and that's what I was going back to you again. That's why I was trying to explain to you a while ago. To get wrestling back, you know, in our business, when you're getting beat up, it's called selling.
Right.
So understand, if you know how to work, and if you can make those people believe what they're doing to you is real, you see, that's what's wrong with our business today. The guys that don't know what they're doing. You know, it's not knowing how to work in our business to make them believe what you're doing is right. If you believe in yourself and you believe out there what they're doing to you is real, and you can make those people understand that, that's how you draw money.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I agree with you. I come from,
that's what I tried to express to, you know, like some of the guys that I, you know, like Kid Cash, you know, Kid Cash.
Yes.
Okay, you know, I broke David in. I taught him, you know, and I didn't teach him some of his attitude problems. But don't get me wrong, I love David. He's a good guy. Basically, he is. If you get to know him, he just understands this business, and he got caught up in something where he don't want to be the last one to know about a situation. You understand?
Exactly.
But if you notice how he works, he tries to make the people believe in what he's doing. You know, you see, and it's a lot of difference. Reason, you know, one day his break's going to come, his big break's going to come.
Right.
Is to understand that, you know, and that's what I want to job in these, you know, especially, you know, you look at WWF, it's $1 billion business. I mean, I can't understand, why can't I have a job doing that? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Well, I mean, hopefully, you know, there's only, you know, today there were a lot of talent cuts in the Heartland Wrestling Association, the WWF Developmental League.
Yeah.
You know, there's only so many spots.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so a lot of these guys that got cut today, I don't think that it's a reflection of their talent as much as it's a case of, you know, we've got so many guys, we can't obviously fit all these guys into a storyline, so it's a numbers game.
Oh, yeah. You know, and you know, you got to switch your talent, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I think it right now, which WWF is doing good, but it's time to start building another baby face and another heel. You understand?
Who would you guess?
You know what?
Who would you pick?
I really don't know because I'm not there to see it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not there. You know, I don't. You know, I wrestled for 20 years, and to tell you the truth, it's like me driving a truck all day and going home and watching truck tapes. You know, I don't do that. I don't. You know, I don't even watch wrestling. to tell you the truth. So I've done it all my life.
Did you watch it the last couple of weeks with Vince and the Kiss My Posterior Club?
No, I haven't.
Okay, good. You made a good choice.
No, I have not watched it, so I could. The last time I watched the wrestling, and the reason why is because I was flipping through TV, and Vince McMahon had Steve Regal to kiss his ass.
Yep.
Excuse my language on radio. I forgot on radio.
No problem.
But
you're a legend of wrestling. All's forgiven. There's nothing I can do, man. You got the credentials here.
I could not believe this happened, but you know what, though? I watched the TV, and it worked out great.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever wrote this situation for me did a hell of a job. I'd say that. You know, I couldn't believe he did it on TV. But it was great. You know, I can say that for him. That part was good.
And
then when the part they introduced Flair to be, you know, because it went from, you know, his son and Vince fighting over the territory. Now it's Flair and him, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it lately. But it'll be a time, you know. I know my time's over. You know, I know I'm not expected to go to WWF to be on top. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And as a matter of fact, I don't want to be.
Now, what's your favorite memory of Ric Flair when you had your run with him in the 80s?
Wait a minute, do you personally know Rick?
I've met him a few times. I wouldn't call him a friend. We've talked on occasion.
Well, you got to understand this. It's not about the thing about what I remember above. I've known Rick for a long time. And to me, I don't care. Everybody has their own opinion, you know? Mm-hmm. To me, Ric Flair is the greatest thing that ever happened to professional wrestling. Not only that, in and out of the ring. You know, a lot of people say, you know, he's blah, blah, blah. Rick, to me, has always been a perfect gentleman. To my family, he's always been perfect. I enjoy being around him. You know, I have numerous occasions of good times with Rick, you know. And to me, the guys these days, and I'm going to say this on, hope I don't get in trouble, but they all drop down on their knees and kiss his butt every time he walks by. You know, he's what made this business. Ric Flair is what made professional wrestling.
Well, how many times did Ric Flair wrestle on more days than there were in the year? I mean, 2 and 3 times a day, doing TV in the morning in Atlanta, an afternoon, you know.
Well, we all done it together.
Right.
But he done it for years. You know, back then you had different territories. You know, Rick not only wrestled Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, one night he's Miami, next night Kansas City, next night California, Portland, Oregon. You know, back to Minneapolis, Chicago. You know, you got to understand it was, but they don't even realize what he sacrificed his life for this business. You know, these guys. I mean, and not, you know, and Rick made good money those days. You know, it's like, and it's hard. People don't even understand. You know, big money back then is nothing compared to what these guys are making today.
Right.
You know, it's like, what really teed me off one time is, I did a thing for Inside Edition. You know, they was talking about a situation. Because they switched it up. It wasn't a situation about, so, you know, I went through a divorce. And, you know, and Kevin Nash comes up, he tells everybody, well, we save our money, we put money in retirement funds for us. But understand this right here. Before Kevin Nash even say anything about Ricky Morton, is to understand that Kevin Nash made more in 6 months in this business than I've made in 20 years. You believe that?
Well, and plus, you also laid the groundwork yourself, Ric Flair, so many guys for that.
Okay, understand this right here now. He made more in 6 months than I made in 20 years in this business. So understand, he has the money to do that.
Right.
So you say, I didn't. Okay, so that's how different the business is. But we worked our behinds off. It was every day. And it wasn't, you know, in my contract, a first-class seat on the airplane, but we drove 500 miles sometimes one way to wrestle a show. Then drove 500 miles back home. And this wasn't, you know, every 6 months. We wrestled every day doing this. There wasn't airplanes. We drove them, you know, these territories. Guys don't really understand that, you know.
But what you got over Kevin Nash is now you are a legend of wrestling in the video game.
Well, buddy, I appreciate it. You know,
I mean, one thing we talked about last week, the one thing this will do, and there's going to be an appeal to this game for a lot of young kids because they do have names like Bret Hart and Rob Van Dam in the game, but also for yourself, for Robert Gibson, for guys like the One Man Gang, or for the Von Erich family, or Harley Race and Ivan Putski. It's opening you up to an entire new generation, which will now be able to appreciate, hopefully, what you and Robert and so many other people did.
Well, you know, I really appreciate, you know, that's something that I'm looking forward to. You know, like a lot of these shows we go to, you know, the younger kids really don't know who we are. But Mama and Daddy darn sure does.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, I hope they understand, you know, what we done. You know, what Robert and I sacrificed. the angles we done, it's different things to make this wrestling what it is today. And I always think, all I want out of it is for somebody to say thank you. Is that asking too much?
No, let me be the one to say thank you.
Yeah, somebody getting on TV and telling somebody or just talking bad about somebody, say thank you for what you done. We appreciate it.
Right.
And you can't, and what really grinds, like when WCW was in business, you had Eric Bischoff running, but I couldn't even get a job popping popcorn. And we are the reason Ted Turner bought the business.
Yep.
Robert and I were.
Absolutely.
So the ratings were way up. And as soon as somebody got control, boom, they pushed us right out and said rock and roll's old news. And then they brought in all the rejects off of WWF that Vince got rid of. Now you understand how come they lost their business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, Ricky Morton is featured in the Legends of Wrestling video game from our good friends at Acclaim. And
hey, you know what? I want to thank Acclaim for doing this for us. And we appreciate everything. And anything, if they're out there listening, anything we can do to help them in the future or any other new ideas they want to do, we're all ears. Okay?
I'm sure. And I think they've already got, Brian may kill me for this, I think they got the groundwork laid for the next version, so I would expect that you would be a part of that too.
Well, I hope so. And it's a pleasure working with those guys. They're real good businessmen. And I hope everybody out there listening, go out and get your PlayStation 2, The Legends. Please help us out.
I never thought I would say this on the radio, but I'm going to go home and play with you right now, Ricky.
Oh, man.
I'm out of time. Ricky, thank you very much, man.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you. If you need my whole phone number, give me a call.
Got it, Ricky. Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express, part of the Legends of Wrestling video game. My time is done. Thank you very much for listening. This is the Wrestling Guys.
You've been listening to the tag.
Remember that offer I gave you a couple minutes ago if you want to come in and do impersonations? No, I don't think that's going to happen anyway. Hey, want to get you up to date on a couple things. First of all, next week or the week after, we're going to be talking heavily about WrestleMania. We've got some interviews set up to pump that, so you do not want to miss that. Also, a couple of shows coming up this weekend. Outlaw Championship Wrestling has a show in Yellow Springs. You can call 937-229-8189 for the latest details on that. Also, Dwight, since I know you're interested, also the Heartland Wrestling Association has their events. You can get more at hwaonline.com. Also, a couple of other shows coming up. Where's my calendar? A couple of other shows coming up on March the 2nd. Unified Championship Wrestling returns to action at what's called now the 798 Union Hall. Used to be the 801, now it's the 798. I don't know if they lost a couple of chairs or what. Anyway, Sabu is going to be on the card along with the man that calls it right down the middle, Bill Alfonso. But they're going to have that show happening there. Also, coming up on March the 15th. Is that right? I need glasses, Dwight. Can you get me some glasses? March the 15th, the Heartland Wrestling Association will be in action at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds Coliseum. The week prior to that, on March the 8th, IWA Mid-South Wrestling comes to the Burkhart Center with a show that is going to feature Rey Mysterio Jr., which I'm very proud to say I'm taller than. The guy's like a former tag team champion and all this. I got like a good 3 inches on the guy, and I'm like 5'5".
There are not many people you hold.
Hold on, Dwight. I turned off your mic because of that impersonation you did a little while ago.
There are not many people that Shawn is taller than.
There's not. And I'm very proud of the fact I tower over Rey Mysterio Jr.
You're lucky you're taller than this microphone right here.
Okay, your mic's off again. Also, Gangrel is going to be on that show, and details are available there by looking at their website, iwamidsouthwrestling.com. But a bunch of wrestling coming up on the independent circuit, so make sure you get out and get a chance to take in something. You got that, Dwight? You're going to take in something. See, I turned on your mic. You didn't listen. God bless it, Dwight. Anyway, Dwight Smith's getting ready to occupy this chair as Middletown Middies get ready to take on Cincinnati Woodward. And as the road to Columbus continues, our road to Columbus coverage of the 2002 Boys High School Basketball Tournament. How about that? All right. That is all my time. Don't forget, for the latest wrestling news, call the Wrestling Guys hotline, 937-285-0991. We have to break for news. When we come back, it's Middies basketball here on the station that's a part of your life and the home of the Middies. AM 910 WPFB. Take care.
Do you know where?
A terrific Wednesday again to you. How you doing? My name is Shawn Stidham. I don't know if I have the ability to go for an hour anymore. I don't know if I'm a 60-minute man, to quote Ric Flair. First time in a couple of weeks, we're going for 1 hour tonight, so we look forward to talking to you. 866-910-WPFB. 866-910-9732 is our toll-free phone number. And we've got stuff to give away tonight all throughout the program. I've got a bunch of home videos courtesy of our good friends at WWF Home Video. I've got Rebellion, I've got Vengeance, I got Royal Rumble, I got Before They Restart, I got a ton of this stuff. So all throughout the night we'll be sliding those out as we go along. A bunch of stuff to cover tonight as well. We have WrestleMania coming up in just a couple of weeks, some thoughts on that, plus we're going to look at a lot of other WWF news, HWA news, local news, a whole bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the start. And first of all, look at the ratings from this past Monday. Raw did a 4.5 rating, which is very, very disappointing to everybody in Stamford, Connecticut and the surrounding area because the last 2 weeks, Raw had banged out a 4.7 rating. Ever since the thought that the New World Order would come in, the build-up to WrestleMania coming out of the last pay-per-view, the thought would be that the WWF would be able to creep back up into the 5 category in the ratings. That has not happened. And in fact, given this past Monday, the ratings are starting to slide a little bit, and there's no reason they shouldn't be, or that they should be. There's no Monday Night Football any longer. There's no Olympics. There's no special event-type program which would make it that people would not normally tune in like they would on every Monday night. Just the simple fact that people aren't as interested right now in the WWF product. There's fingers being pointed at Stephanie McMahon. There's fingers being pointed at the NWO that, see, we really didn't need those guys. They haven't bumped up our ratings. They're not bringing us the money or the ratings that they thought you would. So things are a little bit hectic right now in the WWF offices, and as well as far as the ratings are concerned. But it's just a little messy right now. Other stories to get into as we head into WrestleMania. Of course, the promotion machine for the World Wrestling Federation gets underway. You've got in Canada, and these will be popping up on eBay. There's going to be a special edition of World Wrestling Federation TV guide coverage in Canada starting next week. Triple H is going to be appearing on the Conan O'Brien show. That's going to be on March 13th. Tomorrow night, there's a bunch of WWF stars on E! Entertainment Television at 11 o'clock on the Howard Stern show. This coming Sunday, a special WWF edition of The Weakest Link will air. Next week on the 12th, TNN is going to air a special Best of WrestleMania program at 9 o'clock. So you're going to see a lot of WWF over the next couple of weeks as they head into their biggest show of the year, that being WrestleMania. One big question about WrestleMania and about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, SmackDown is live from San Antonio, Texas, the home of the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Michaels' return to the World Wrestling Federation has been rumored for the last year, and there's a lot of talk that Michaels will be brought back in with his old clique buddies, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. Maybe he'll be brought in to fight with the New World Order. There's even talk now, Nick, you listening? There's even talk now that Shawn Michaels will be brought in tomorrow night at the live SmackDown by the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Flair has been challenged by The Undertaker over the last few weeks. Apparently the storyline now being tossed around is that Flair will not accept the challenge of The Undertaker, but instead bring in Shawn Michaels to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Now, SmackDown, as you well know, really never a live program. So for SmackDown to be live tomorrow night and to be in the hometown of Shawn Michaels has a lot of people speculating that Michaels will be there tomorrow night and be involved in WrestleMania. We will have to wait and see, but certainly SmackDown is something you're going to want to tune into tomorrow night. Other news to get into. Shane Douglas apparently is coming back to wrestling. He is slated to take over as the head booker for XPW on April the 17th. That is when his AOL Time Warner contract expires, and that will be very interesting, to say the least. Shane Douglas is one of our favorite guests, and slated to come on back here in a couple of weeks on the Wrestling Guys here on AM 910 WPFB. Taking a look at some of the other promotional stuff that WWF has coming up. The Rock is going to be hosting the most outrageous spring break moments on MTV. That's going to be March 22nd and 24th. That ought to be good. Other news to get into as far as the local area. There's a show slated to happen this weekend at the Burkhardt Center in Dayton. IWA Mid-South Wrestling is advertising a show there, and I don't know if it's going to happen or if it's not going to happen. Apparently, officials at the Burkhardt Center thought the show was going to take place last week. IWA advertised the show for this week. There was a mix-up. Some people have said that the Burkhardt Center said the show is not going to happen. The IWA is still advertising the show, which is slated to feature Jerry Lynn, Gangrel from the WWF, formerly WWF, Chris Heroes on the show. A lot of people have been asking me if this show is going to happen or not. I have made a couple of calls into the IWA. I have yet to hear back from anybody there, so I really don't have a good answer for you at this time. Maybe by the end of the broadcast we'll be able to tell you something. Or if you want to call the Wrestling Guys hotline at 937-285-0991, and hopefully over the course of the next couple of days I'll be able to give you some more news on that. How about this for a show? This is flashback to the 80s. The Future of Wrestling on April the 13th in Davie, Florida, has a four-way main event with the American Dream Dusty Rhodes versus Abdullah the Butcher versus Terry Funk versus Kevin Sullivan. Now, I'm trying quickly to add up the ages here in my mind, and I honestly think that we're looking at something along the lines of about 215 years old, the combined age for this main event on April 13th in Davie, Florida. Dusty Rhodes, Abdullah the Butcher, Terry Funk, and Kevin Sullivan in a four-way dance. The only way to be eliminated is to bleed. Now, come on. Dusty Rhodes, Abdullah the Butcher, they sneeze, they start bleeding. So anyway, ought to be an interesting show down there. Toll-free number again, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB. A couple of things I want to get your opinion on tonight. First of all, should Shawn Michaels come back? If he comes back, should he go with the New World Order? Should he be a part of D-Generation X? Should he bring back that? Or should he just do something else? Your thoughts on that? Again, toll-free, 866-910-WPFB. The other question I have for you tonight, WrestleMania, 1 week from this Sunday, March 17th. Question I have for you is this. We all know that The Rock is going to take on Hulk Hogan. We also know that the world title match is Triple H versus Y2J Chris Jericho. You also have Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Scott Hall. Which match should be the final match of the show? Traditionally, your world title match is the final match of the show, and that should be the main event. However, The Rock and Hogan, two of the biggest names in the history of the sport, going at each other, a little bit more of a marquee matchup, even though there's no title on the line. Should The Rock and Hogan be the final match? Should that be the main event of WrestleMania? Your thoughts on that, Shawn Michaels, and what should the main event of WrestleMania be? The toll-free number is 866-910-WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. This is The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB.
This is Frank Farmer Loomis, your antiques expert, with the antique of the day.
It starts with your stuffy nose and spreads till your head feels all have a bad cold.
You like AM 910 WPFB.
Back here on The Wrestling Guys on AM 910 WPFB. My name is Shawn Stidham. A full hour tonight. I'm giddy. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB. Again, a couple of things we're talking about tonight. What should Shawn Michaels' role be if he comes back to the World Wrestling Federation? Should it be with the New World Order? Should it be with DX? Something else? Use your creative minds. I know you've got them. Also, The Rock and Hogan, Y2J and Triple H. What should be the main event of WrestleMania? That's what I'm asking you. We got John from Dayton on the phone. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. What's your thoughts? Michaels, NWO, DX, what do you think?
I think you should come back with D-Generation X. I think that'd be great.
I know people want that, but I can't see them bringing back the Road Dogg. I know that a lot of people are very happy with the way Billy and Chuck are performing as a tag team, so I don't know if they're willing to break up Billy Gunn. So would you be okay with a new DX of an X-Pac, a Shawn Michaels, and then maybe them bringing in a Just Incredible or something like that?
Yeah, something like that'd be pretty good.
Okay. Main event WrestleMania, your thoughts on that?
I think it should be The Rock versus Hulk Hogan.
Even though there's no world title on the line, no title there, that should be the final match of the night.
I think it's going to be a hell of a match.
All right. Well, we got your opinion. You want a video?
I sure do.
You want to? Okay, hang on the line. We're going to get your information, okay?
Okay.
All right, hang on 1 second. John from Dayton going to get a video. He's very happy about that. A couple of things about the title match is that, and the WWF has been very upfront about the fact that there was going to be a split happening after WrestleMania, where that there's going to be basically two separate leagues within the WWF. I think what's going to happen, I don't know anything concrete to back me up on this, but follow me on this. They've been touting for a long time that Chris Jericho is the undisputed heavyweight champion. My gut feeling is that something's going to happen during that match between Jericho and Triple H that would cause the title to be held up. That Ric Flair, being a 50% owner, is going to recognize one person as the champion, say Triple H, and McMahon, as being the other co-owner of the WWF, is going to recognize Chris Jericho. Therefore, the title would no longer be undisputed. It would be divided, and then that is how you would have your split. Now you would go into your draft and everything else. I don't think they want to end WrestleMania with a kind of a screw job ending where you're going to have something held up and people are confused and everything else. I think you want to end WrestleMania with a match that's going to have a clear-cut victory, and I think Hogan and Rock is shaping up to that. So my feeling is that Rock and Hogan is probably going to be your main event of WrestleMania, but there's also part of it, there's a traditionalist in me as well that thinks that the world title match should be your main event of WrestleMania. So, a couple different ways you can go on that. Still interested in talking to you. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB. And again, we're giving away home video tonight, courtesy of our friends at the WWF, and we have a bunch of those to slide out. So when you call in tonight, you may just be able to pick up one of those. I'm not guaranteeing that, but if you got a good call, you got a good take, then we might be able to set you up with that. Again, 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB. Let's go to the phones again. Hi, the wrestling guys. Who's this?
Hey, Shawn. How you doing? This is Andy.
Hey, Andy. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. I wanted to get my opinion on that main event.
Okay.
I'm going to say Scott Hall and Austin.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, why is that?
I don't know. I just think Austin has been a bigger part of the WWF, bigger than The Rock in recent years, and I'd have to see him in the main event.
I can't argue with you about, Austin, but you also have to look at the other side of the equation, and I don't think that Scott Hall has the name power, the attraction power that a Hulk Hogan does.
For some reason, I just would look forward to waiting and watching that match last. I don't know why, but...
You want to see if Hulk comes out sober, don't you? That's what it's really about. That's what everybody asks about. Is Hall still sober?
Well, maybe they should make that the opening match so Hall will stay sober through the match.
There's also a thinking there, if you make it the final match of the night, that Hall has to stay sober throughout the night.
Well, plus you're putting Hall over more than maybe you should.
Did you see the interview that he did on WWF.com?
I did not see that.
Scott Hall, if you go to WWF.com, a very revealing, very candid interview where he talks about his past problems and everything, and he is actually taking a medication that if you consume alcohol, it makes you deathly ill. And there were some people that told me that after the SmackDown where Austin was dumping beer on him, that Hall had actually taken some beer into his system and actually got very sick afterwards back in the locker room. That is how much of a problem this guy really has, is that he has to take a medication that if he consumes alcohol, he gets, seriously ill. And you could even, I think on this medication, if you, basically go on a really big drinking binge, you could actually die from this.
Well, I'm sure he really hates taking that, but you know how Scott Hall is.
I know how he is, and I wish the guy all the luck in the world, because I've met the guy. He's a nice guy from my conversations with him. But there's also a point where somebody's been given a opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to correct their problems and to help themselves, and they keep blowing their opportunities. And so I don't have any sympathy for him as far as that goes. Although I hope the guy cleans up his act. I hope he's okay.
Why don't we make a Kurt Hennig Scott Hall match, kind of like Survivor Series '91, I think it was.
You want to go back a long time, don't you? You want to pop in some of those old videotapes.
Hey, I love them.
I know you do. Hey, Andy, appreciate the phone call. Take care.
All right.
All right. So we now have one vote for Austin and Hall. We now have one vote for The Rock and Hogan. So 2 calls so far. Nobody yet voting for Y2J and Triple H. See, still, the traditionalist in me says the world title match needs to be the final match of the night. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just an old fogey. I walked in here today, and Dwight Smith, the news guru here and sports guru and everything else, looked over me and goes, "Hey, Shaq's getting old. He turned 30 today." Yeah, I turned 30 like 3 months ago, so thanks a lot, Dwight. It made me feel really good. 866-910-WPFB, 866-910-WPFB. If you're heading out tonight, you may want to head down to Oscars in Cincinnati. It's the Heartland Wrestling Association has a big show down there tonight. Details available at hwaonline.com. Again, really not sure about the status of the IWA show for this weekend, but a bunch of shows coming up in next week. On the 15th, March 15th, the Heartland Wrestling Association will be at the Montgomery County Fairgrounds Coliseum. Traditionally, those are on Wednesdays, but in this case, they're just going to be on Friday. And then the next night, Saturday night, there's a bunch of shows in Piqua, Violent Championship Wrestling. First time those guys have been back in quite some time. They're going to run a show with Suicide Solution, Logan Kane, Trevor Lowe, all those guys on the 16th, ViolentChampionshipWrestling.com is the website. Also in Springfield, Outlaw Championship Wrestling will be running that night in Springfield. Details available at OutlawChampionshipWrestling.com or by calling 937-229-8189. And then 1 week later on the 23rd, Unified Championship Wrestling. First show in a year for that company. Big Daddy Raj Cox is going to be running at the 798 Union Hall, downtown Dayton. He's going to be bringing in Sabu and Fonzie for a show, and more details to come about that.